Hey guys, Hussein and welcome to YouTube channel. So in this video, we are going to be learning about Node.js from scratch. So before we getting into this course, there are just a few things which I want to mention. This course is the part of my MERN stack course. If you want to check it out, feel free to do that, which is completely free. You can find it on my YouTube channel. And the next thing is the coding. So you can find all of the coding in my GitHub repository. So now let's talk about what is a Node.js and why you should care about learning Node.js. So what in the world is a Node.js? So Node.js is a free open source cross-platform JavaScript runtime environment that lets developer write command line tools and server-side script outside of the browser. So get it? I bet you don't, because there are a lot of buzzwords right here like open source, cross-platform, runtime environment. So now let me just break down all of them for you. So what is that open source means? So open source just simply means like Node.js have a huge community of collaborators and they're consistently providing new feature to Node.js and making it up to date. And cross-platform means like if you write Node.js code, so your code can be run on any operating system out there. Like if you are using a Windows or Mac OS or Linux, so your code will totally work on any operating system. And runtime environment simply means like it is using something called a Google Chrome V8 engine, something which we are going to be discussing later on in this course, but you don't have to worry about it for now, and which allows JavaScript to run outside of the browser. So in this course we are not going to be writing any document.query selector, document.get element by id, or anything related to document. In Node.js, we have something called global, which we are going to be discussing later on in this course, but we don't have any concept of document in Node.js. So we are going to be still writing a JavaScript code, but we are not going to be writing any document whatsoever. Okay, so now this is the definition of Node.js. Now you get like what is all of that stuff means, but why you should care about learning Node.js. So why you should use Node.js. So I can give you a lot of example of these, but I just want to mention these few. So the first one I want to mention is JavaScript. So Node.js is built on top of JavaScript programming language, which means that if you already know JavaScript, so you can easily learn Node.js, and this makes it an interactive option for web developers who wants to use a familiar language like JavaScript on both on the front end and on the backend as well. Accessibility. Node.js uses something called event-driven non-blocking input-output. All of these words which we are going to be discussing later on in this course, like what is the event-driven non-blocking and input-output model means, we are going to be discussing all of that in a very great detail, but I just kind of want to convince you like why you should learn Node.js. So this makes it highly scalable and it can handle large volume of traffic with ease, so making it ideal for application that needs to handle high volume of requests. So the next thing is performance. Node.js is known as for its speed and performance because it runs something called a V8 JavaScript engine, and it can execute code very quickly, making it a great choice for real-time applications. Okay, so large ecosystem, like as I said, if you have any kind of problem in Node.js, so you can either copy that problem and you can just paste it on a Google form and you can find the solution in a seconds, because Node.js has a large ecosystem. And we're going to be also learning about something called a Node package manager, but you don't have to worry about that for now. Cross-platform, as I said, like if you write Node.js code, so you can run it in any operating system out there like Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and all of that. So I hope I convince you enough. So if you really want to learn Node.js, so you are totally in the right place. Alright, so that's it about why you should learn Node.js. So now let's just talk about the stacks. So if you learn Node.js, so you can use it in different kind of stacks. So in this course, we are going to be using a MERN stack, so which means like MongoDB, Express, React.js, and Node.js. So we are currently learning Node.js. So once we are done with Node.js, then we are going to be jumping into Express.js, then MongoDB with Mongoose, and finally we are going to be jumping into React.js. Okay, so yeah, so we are currently learning about MERN stack. You can use it with mean stack if you want to. So here you can also use like Angular instead of React, and you can also use it with something called Mavine stack. Sorry, I can't pronounce the name of this stack, but here you can see we have a Vue.js right here. So if you learn Node.js, so you can use it with different kind of stacks and also with Electron.js and all of that kind of good stuff. So I hope I convince you enough to learn about Node.js. So if I convince you enough and you've decided to learn about Node.js, so congratulations, you've taken a great step. So now let's talk about a setup for this course. So in this course, I'm going to be using a Visual Studio as my coder, because throughout this course, we are going to be using this Visual Studio coder, and I have complete course on a Visual Studio coder, and I can totally guarantee, I can even promise you that if you watch that course from the beginning through the end, you are going to be calling yourself as a sonic coder. You are going to be writing code like a some sort of a lizard or something. Okay, so I'm going to be using Visual Studio Coder as my coder, and if you want to download it, so here is the link. You just have to write like code.visualstudio.com, and I'm going to also give you that link in the description below. So if you come to this site, it will by default detect your operating system. Like I happen to be using Windows, so here you can see it detect my operating system right here. But if you are using something else, so you can download it for like Mac OS, for Windows, or for Linux if you want to. Okay, so you can learn more about that, or you can watch my course, which is totally for free on my YouTube channel. So now let's talk about the Node.js. So in this course, obviously we have to install a Node.js. So if you want to install a Node.js, first of all you have to come to this link, which is nodejs.org/en. You can even remove this en if you want to, and you can just write nodejs.org, and it will also bring you to this page right here. Okay, so here you can either click on this LTS version or this current version right here. So it doesn't matter which one you want to download, you can download any of them. But for me, I've already downloaded this one, and chances are your version will be totally different than mine. Like, not chances, this is a fact. If you're watching this video, your version will be totally different than mine, because Node.js, as I mentioned, like they change, like they have a huge community and they change this Node.js a lot. They're providing new feature to this Node.js a lot. So if you want to follow along with this course, you should have Node.js version greater than 8, and it doesn't matter how much greater it is. So in my case, my version will be 18 point something, but in your case it might be something like 20 or maybe 24 or 25 or something version in that area. Okay, so you can just click on this button and it will just start downloading, and then hit next, 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 and it will just install it in your machine. Okay, so this is the first website where you can get Node.js from. The second website is something called a nodejs.dev, which is for developers. So if you want to learn Node.js, and here you can see that definition which I just copied and which you just saw on slides, like Node.js is a free open source cross-platform JavaScript runtime and blah blah blah. So the difference between these two websites is, like, this website will even allow you to learn Node.js interactively. So you can just click on this button if you want to download it. So here you can see these buttons, so you can download either this one or this one. I'm gonna click on learn more. If you click on that, so here you can learn about like what is a Node.js, how to install it, what is the difference between Node.js and the browser and V8 engine, something which we will learn throughout this course, but not right now. Okay, so here you can also write your code right here, and you can also copy the code from here, and you can also find all of this coding inside this website as well. So you can just click on this docs right here, then click on the current version which you are going to be using. So I'm going to just click on 18, this LTS version, and it will just brings us their documentation right here. And there are a lot of modules, and we are going to be discussing a lot of them, but not all of them, because that will be insane if I show you every single module. So let's suppose if you are learning about a path module, so I'm going to just search for a path right here. I'm going to close that. I'm going to click on this path, and you can learn more about this path module right here. So what is a path module, how to import and export it, and obviously we are going to be learning all of that stuff throughout this course. Anyway, so that's the websites if you want to check it out. And now let's make a setup. So in my case, I'm going to create my setup in my desktop. So I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to give a name of like Node.js/workspace would be fine. And I'm going to right click on it, and then I would choose this more option, and I'm going to open it with a Visual Studio Coder right here. Okay, so it will now open this folder in my Visual Studio Coder. So chances are your coder will not look the same like mine, because I change a lot of stuff inside this Visual Studio Coder. Okay, so now the next thing which you have to do is that you have to go to this extension area, this area I'm talking about. So you just have to click on that, but in my case I hide there, so I'm gonna have to hold Control and hit Q, and then I'm going to click on this extension, and it will now brings us to this extension area right here. Okay, so I'm going to just zoom in a bit so you guys can see everything a bit better. If you want to install all of them, you know what, you don't have to install all of them, but you just have to install this code runner right here and this prettier. So this prettier will allows us to format our code, something which I don't want to discuss right now. And then you have to install this code runner, because throughout the course I'm not going to be using a command palette. Maybe in some situation I would, but not that often. So I'm going to be using this code runner extension right here, which is, you can use it for C, C++, JavaScript, and all of these kind of programming languages right here. So now let me just create an index.html file right here. So I'm going to just create index.html, not HTML but JS file, because we are going to be running all of our code inside this file. So now let's suppose if I want to write like console.log of hello Node.js or something like that. So now if I want to run this code, so how can I go about doing that? Well, the first way is that we have to create this index.html file, then we can write a doc type HTML, and then we can just script, and you know what, I'm going to remove that. I'm going to write this script src, and I'm going to link it right here, and then we can open this file and then we can use that. But as I said, we are not going to be using this HTML and all of that stuff throughout this course, because we have to use something called a document for that, like document, and this is a JavaScript used for front-end development, and this is a JavaScript used for back-end development. So currently we are learning about Node.js, so we don't have to create an index.html file. So how can we run this code? So we can run this code by using our terminal. So you can either open this terminal right here, or you can open your integrated terminal, which you will have inside your Visual Studio Code. So you just have to hold Control and hit tilde, and tilde will be underneath your escape key and above your tab key. So here you can see we have this integrated terminal right here, and this is the path. Okay, so what I would do is that I'm going to just first of all write a node and then the file name. So in this case my file name is index.js right here. So I'll just write index, so I'll just write ind and hit tab, and here you can see it will just auto complete it for me. I'm gonna hit enter, and here you can see it will now gives us hello Node.js right here. But that will take a lot of our time, so let me just open that right here, and let me just clear the terminal, and let me just run that one more time. First of all, we are going to be writing a node and then the file name. In this case I'm using index.js, so I'm gonna hit enter, and here you can see it will gives us that message right here, like hello Node.js right here inside of console. But this will take a little bit of time, so the next thing which we can do is that we already install this code runner extension right here, so now we can use that. So if you want to run this code by using a code runner, so you don't have to specify this path and then use node and then the file name. You just have to come to the file and you just have to click on that, and here you can see it will now gives us the result of that file right here. So that's completely awesome. But you know what will be more awesome than that is to create our own shortcut for that. Like I'm gonna just use my shortcut like that, and here you can see it will also run my code. I don't have to move my mouse to this button and then click on it. It will take me a little bit of time, so I'm gonna just use my shortcut like boom, just like that. If you want to create a shortcut for yourself, so you just have to first of all hit F1 button, and here you just have to write like open keyboard keyboard shortcut preferences or something like that. I'm gonna click on him, and here you just have to write code runner. Okay, so if you just write code runner, then I want you to just click on this second option right here, which is this code runner dot run, this extension right here. Double click on it, and here you can specify your shortcut. So here you can see I've already provided my shortcut, which will be shift enter, but you can provide any kind of shortcut if you want to. But in my case, I'm going to just write I'm going to just hold shift and hit enter. Okay, so it will just create this shortcut for me. So anytime I want to execute my code, so I can just use that shortcut by holding shift and hit enter. You don't have to do that. You can just click on this button and it will also run your code. But if you want to create a shortcut for yourself, so that's how you're going to be creating a shortcut for yourself. I just forgot to mention how you're going to be checking the version of your Node.js. So you just have to open your terminal and then just write node and then -v and hit enter, and it will now give you the version right here. But chances are your version will be greater than mine, because as I said that Node.js changes a lot. So I way zoomed in. So chances are your what do we call it, your Node.js version will be totally different than mine. So you can also check it by using node dash version if you want to, and here you can see it will give you the same exact result right here. You can use node dash v and it will also give you that result. And by the way, one more thing, if you install Node.js in your machine, so you will also get npm for free as well. So you just have to write npm dash v and it will also give you the version of npm right here. So I'm using 9.5.0 and chances are your version will be greater than mine. So you can also check that by using npm dash version and hit enter, and it will also show you that exact version which I'm using right now. So I'm going to just write exact, and you can also use that version by using your integrated terminal on Visual Studio Coder if you want to. So I'll just write like node dash v and also node dash version and npm dash v and also npm dash version, npm dash version right here. So it will also gives us that same result right here as well. Say bye-bye to this one. So now let's talk about something called REPL in Node.js, so which is just an area where you can run your Node.js code. So you just have to open your terminal, and by the way, REPL just stands from read eval print loop. You just have to open your terminal. I'm gonna make it a bit bigger so you guys can see everything a bit better, and I'm gonna just write node and hit enter. So if I do that, it will ask us like if you need some help, so you can just use this command which is .help. I'm going to use .help right here. So here you can see it will now gives us different kind of commands like break, clear, editor, exit, and also help, load, and save. So you know what, I'm going to just declare my variable like const name, and it will be now equals to my own name like Hussein web dev. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter right now, and now if I want to check it, so here you can see if I write name, and here you can see we are now getting this Hussein web dev right here. I can also write like function, and I'm going to just give a name of like grid or something like that. Username, it will take a username, and I just hold shift and hit enter, and now I'm going to just write console.log of username. Okay, so then finally I have to close there and hit enter. So now if I want to provide some sort of a value to it, so I'm going to have to write grid of Hussein like so, and close it and hit enter, and here you can see it will now gives us Hussein right here. I should have to provide a welcome or some sort of a message, but I forgot to do that. If you want to get out from this REPL, so you can just hold control and hit C and use their shortcut one more time, like hold control and hit C one more time, and you will just get out from there. If you don't install Node.js, so you will not see that. So if you just write node and hit enter, so you will see some sort of a error message if you didn't install Node.js in your machine. Okay, so I'm going to hit control and hit C, command C or control C, hit exit right here. So that was it about REPL. So now let me just show you how we can run our Node.js code. So what I will do is that I'm going to just write some sort of a code like I don't know, let money will be equals to true, and if you have money, then you can just like I don't know, buy stuff. And if you don't have money, so what you can do is that you have to bring money. So if I want to run this code, so I already have a shortcut. I can either click on there, or I can use my shortcut which is shift, holding shift and hit enter, and here you can see it will now use us bring, not bring stuff but buy stuff. But if you change that to false, save my file, clear the terminal, and if I want to use it one more time, and here you can see it will now ask us to bring money. Okay, so I'm going to close that, and that was it about how we can run our code. What I will do is that I'm going to delete that. How can I delete it? I'm going to select it and hit delete button, so it will just delete it for us. Alright, so welcome to the first chapter of this course. So in this chapter we are going to be learning about a module wrapper and index.js right here. So here you can see I just created a folder, give a name of like module wrapper, and inside this folder I have index.js file right here. Okay, so what in the world is a module wrapper in Node.js? So anytime you want to execute our code, so our code will be wrapped with this function. So you know, first of all, let me just write some code. So I'm going to just write console.log of hello Node.js or something like that. And now if I want to run this code, and here you can see it will now gives us that hello Node.js right here in the console. You and I both know that. So anytime we execute our code will be wrapped with something called a IFI function or a module wrapper function. So it will look like this. Let me just write a code for it. So I'm going to just write a function, give a name of like some sort of, you know, I'm not going to give any name, and it will take these parameters. So exports, then we have require, then we have module, and finally, not finally, but then we have a file name, and finally we have a dir name, and then it will wrap all of our code right here. So this is how our code is get executed. So anytime we execute our code, it doesn't matter if you write console.log or loops or function or anything like that, our code will be wrapped with this if function, and it has these parameters like exports, require, module, file name, and directory name as well. So you know what, I'm going to write my code right here like console.log hello from if. You don't have to worry about what a if function is. This is just a pattern. It was used back then, but not that much nowadays. But hey, if you want to run this code, so you will have to run it right here. So like this is why we call this function is a if function, immediately invoke function expression. So that's what if means. Okay, so you know, I'm gonna comment this line out, and I'm gonna save my file right here. So now I'm gonna run it, and here you can see it will now gives us this result right here like hello from if function. So now you might be thinking like what's the point of all of these stuff right here, like all of these parameters? So what I'll do is that I'm going to remove my console log from here. I'm going to comment this line out. Oh, you know, I'm going to comment all of this entire function right here, and what I will do is that currently I'm going to just show you this file name and this directory name for now. So what I will do is that I will just write console.log and dash dash file name right here. Okay, so if you save our file, and now I'm going to run it, and here you can see it will now gives us the entire path right here, and also this file name right here as well, so index.js file. Okay, so it will gives us that path of that file right here, but I'm going to clear that out. If you just duplicate this line of code and I change that to like dir name, like directory name, and it will just gives us the directory name, but it will not gives us that file name. So you know, I'm going to run this code, and here you can see it will gives us all of that entire path right here, but it will just omit that index.js right here. So that's because of that directory name or the folder name. It will just gives us all of the entire folder name, but it will just remove this index.js right here at the end, but the file name will gives us this index.js at the end right here. So I'm going to just close that. So this is what a if function or module wrapper is. So anytime we execute our code will be wrapped with this if function. If just simply means immediately invoke function expression, and it will take these parameters like exports, require, module, file name, and dir name. So I'm going to show you that next, and then finally I'm going to also show you this module as well. Okay, so that's a module wrapper in Node.js. All right, so now let's start our next chapter, which will be modules index.js right here. So I just create this folder, given name of like modules. Inside this folder we have this index.js right here. So what are modules? First of all, so modules are a way to pass our code from one file into another file. So it will allows us to reuse our code so that we don't have to write our code again and again in different kind of files. So let's suppose if you just write some sort of, you know what, let me just create a new file. I'm going to give a name of like greet.js right here. So we are going to be just creating one simple function inside this folder like function, and I'm going to just give a name of like greet. It will take a username, and I'm going to just log this username like hello, and also I'm going to just provide a username right here. Okay, so I have this function right here, but if I want to use this same function inside this inside this index.js file, and let's suppose if you have like 10 other files, so how can I use this exact same function in 10 other files? Solution is to use something called modules in Node.js. So we have this concept in React.js, which we are going to be also learning very shortly, and we also have the concept of modules inside this Node.js as well. So what I will do is that first of all I have to tell other file you can use this same function. Okay, so first of all I have to tell all of these other files like you can use this function right here. So how can I tell other files like I can use this function? Well, I have to first of all write a module dot exports, and then I have to specify the thing which I want to tell other files like you can use that. So I'm going to just pass my greet right here. So just a greet, just a function name right here. So do you remember this module and this export from somewhere? I know you do. Because if we go to our module wrapper function right here, so we also have this exports right here, and we also have this module right here. So we just write what module dot exports, and it will be now equal to the function name. So now it will allows us to tell other file like you can use this function in all of that other files which we have inside our directory. Okay, so now that we tell other file that you can use this function, so now it's time to bring that function from this file and use it inside this index.html file. So how can we go about doing that? Well, so first of all, we will just write const, and then we are going to be just writing like a greet right here. So I'll just write greet, and it will be now equals to require, and then we have to specify the path, and this will allows us to use that function from that index.js file, and we can use it right here. Okay, so we can now use this greet function inside this index.js file right here. So what I'll do is that I am going to just write greet, and I'm going to call it right here, and I'm going to just specify Hussein, and now I'm going to run this code, and here you can see we are now getting hello Hussein right here. We are not running this function, we are not running this file, we are running this file right here. Okay, so if I want to run this file, so I'm going to just run it, it will not give us anything because we are not running this function inside this file. Instead, we are running this function, this greet function, inside this index.js file right here. So I'm going to just remove these comments from here, and I'm going to also remove this comment from here as well. So that was the first example how you can use it. So let's suppose if I want to remove, or I'm going to just show you that a little bit later. So that's the first example. Now let me just give you one more example. So what I will do is that I'm going to create one more file. I'm going to give a name of like pupils.js right here, and let's suppose I have 3 variables. I'm going to give a name of like I don't know, person1 will be equals to Hussein, let person2 will be equals to Alex, and then let person3 will be equals to John. Okay, so now if you want to use these same variables outside from this file, like if you want to use these same variables inside this index.js file, or maybe in some sort of other file, like maybe in this greet file, so how can you go about doing that? First of all, we have to tell other files you can use these variables. There we go. First of all, we have to tell other files like you can use these variables. So how can we tell them? First of all, we are going to be writing module, then we are going to be writing exports, and it will be now equals to person1. Okay, so if we save this file, and now let's suppose if I want to use it inside this grid, or not grid, but this index.js file, so first of all I'm gonna have to import it. So if I want to import it, I'm gonna use const and then person1, and it will be now equals to require, and then the path will be these pupils right here. And notice I'm not providing .js extension right here. Here we have this extension right here. So here when I'm requiring it, I'm not providing that .js extension right here. If I do that, let me just provide .js extension, and if I log that to a console like person1 and save that, run it, and here you can see it will gives us that same result. But if I didn't provide it, like as this one I didn't provide that, or if I just remove it from this one as well. Okay, so let me just run that one more time, and here you can see it will just work the same. But we will see a little bit of gotchas in other modern ES6 way of importing. You know what, that's other story. Okay, so that's how we can get this person1. So what about this person2 and person3? If you also need this person2 and person3 inside the other files, so how can I use that? Well, now we have more than one thing, so we have to wrap that in curly braces right here. So I'll just wrap them inside a curly brace, and I'm gonna just specify person1 comma person2 comma person3 right here. So now we export that as object. So I'm gonna just save that, and now here what I'll do is that I'm going to also use these curly braces right here. So I'm gonna just write person1 comma person2 comma person3. Okay, so if you do that, now if you save our file, now if we run it, so here you can see it will give us that same result right here. So that Hussein we are getting, I'm going to remove them, and what I will do is that I'm going to log their other ones to the console as well. So person2, and then we have console.log person3. Okay, so now if we save that, and now if we run it, and here you can see we are now getting Hussein, Alex, and John as well. So we can also pass it to this function right here. So we have this function definition inside this grid function right, inside this grid file right here. But now if you want to call it inside this index.js file, so we already import there by using this required function, so we can also pass it in here. So I'm going to just remove that. I'm going to just use greet, and first of all I'm going to pass this person one, so I'm going to just copy and paste there. Then I'm going to just use this greet one more time, and then person2 greet, and then person3. Okay, so if we save our file, so what do you think will be the result? I want you to just pause this video and I want you to give me the answer, like what do you think will be the result for this code. So now it's time to run it. So I'm going to just run this code, and here you can see it will now gives us hello Hussein, hello Alex, and hello John right here. Okay, so this is how we can use the required function to get the data, and this is how we can use module.exports to export the data or to tell other files so that you can have access to this function. Like you can do whatever you want to do with that. You can execute it, or you can like do whatever you want. Okay, so this is how we can tell other files you can have access to this function or variable or anything like that, and getting that function right here. Okay, so this is how you can get it right here. All right, so that was it about modules in Node.js. So this way of importing and exporting is totally okay, but we have one more way to import and export our data from one file into another file, and which is called import, and some stuff which I'm going to show you just in a second, and export some stuff, not exports but just export some stuff. So now you might be thinking like, we just learned about required, so why in the world we would need to use import statement? That's because I've seen a lot of developers, including me myself, who work with the MERN tag. So for front end, you are going to be using import statement, but it can be a little bit of challenging. Like you are going to be using import in a countless file. Like you're going to be creating different kind of components, and you are going to be using this import and export all the time. But when it comes to backend, you are going to be using required, so it can be a little bit of challenging. So that's why, and that's the only reason Node.js developers also allow to use this import statement inside one Node.js as well. Okay, so if you have like Node.js version less than 8, I guess, so this feature will not work, but if you have greater than 8 version, this feature will work. And throughout the course I'm going to be using this newer way of importing and exporting. So what I will do is that I'm going to just collapse that, and I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to give a name of like I don't know, 3 ES6 imports. Okay, come on, not like that. Let me just do that one more time. Let me just collapse that. 3 ES6 imports, and inside this folder I'm going to create an index.js file right here. Okay, so the syntax will look like this. First of all, let me just create a function file like greet.js or something like that. It doesn't matter. I'm going to just zoom in a bit, and I'm going to just create that function right here. So I'm going to just give a name of like greet and username, and I'm going to log to the console like hello, and also username right here. Okay, so if you want to tell other files, you can use this function. So if you want to tell other files, like you can have access to this greet function, so for that you are going to be writing export default and then the function or whatever name you want to provide. Like in my case, I'm going to just provide greet right here, and this is how you're going to be telling other files like you can have access to this greet function. Okay, so that's how we can export this function. And now if you want to import it inside this index.js file, so I'm going to first of all use import and then the name. So here you can see if I just write gr, and here you can see we are getting this shortcut. So if I click on it, it will just import it right here. But in this case, you have to specify the .js extension. So you don't forget that, like in this case, you have to specify this .js extension. If you didn't provide that, it will give you a nasty error, and you will take like a lot of time to debug this and it will waste a lot of your time to figure out where in the world is the bug. So you have to specify this MJS, not MJS, but JS extension right here. Okay, so now let's suppose if I want to use this function, so I'm gonna just specify my name right here. So everything is like totally okay. We are exporting, we are creating our function, we are exporting it right here, we are importing it right here, we are also providing this JS extension right here. And if we run this code, so let me just run that, and here you can see we are getting this nasty error, and it is saying like, warning, to load an ES6 module, set the type module in the package JSON or use the .mjs extension. Well, that sucks. Now we have to change both of these file extension to mjs. So this is going to be the first solution for that problem. So I'm going to just change that to mjs, and I'm gonna say yes to this one, so it will just provide that mjs right here. Okay, so I'm gonna just, oh come on, I'm gonna save this file, and I'm gonna also have to change this extension to mjs instead of js right here. So now if you want to run this code, so I'm gonna just use shift and hit enter, and here you can see it is totally working okay, but nobody used this mjs extension because we are working with a JavaScript file. So why in the world we are going to be writing mjs? So nobody used this mjs extension. This is a solution which Node.js is providing, but this is not a better solution. So I'm going to have to remove these m's from here, and I'm going to have to save this file. So here you can see it will just remove that m from here as well. Okay, so if we run there, so here you can see it will now use us then another way, which is called what do we call it, set the ES6, set the type to module in the package JSON file. So if you want to get a package JSON file, for that we are going to be using our terminal. You don't have to worry about what a package.json file is and what a npm is. You don't have to worry about all of that. We are going to be learning all of that in a really great detail later on in this course, but currently we have to generate that file so we can use this newer way of importing and exporting. So what do we have to do? I'm going to just open my, or you know what, I'm gonna just open this integrated terminal right here. I'm gonna just zoom back so that you guys can see everything a bit better. Here you can see we don't have any package.json file right here, but if you want to generate one, so for that we are going to be first of all navigate through that file. So here you can see currently I am inside this C user desktop Node.js workspace right here. So what I'll do is that I'm going to just write cd to change the directory to this third folder right here. So I'm going to just write 3 and hit tab, and now I'm going to hit enter. So here you can see now I'm inside this third ES6 import and export file right here. Okay, so now what do we have to do? We are going to be writing something called npm and then init, and I'm going to hit enter right here. So it will first of all ask us about a package name. So I'm gonna just hit enter. I'm not gonna be providing any package name, no versioning. I'm gonna just hit enter for description, entry point, test command, git repository, keywords, author, license, and it will finally generate that package.json file for us right here, which you can see right here. Okay, so I'm going to just say bye bye to this one, and now I'm going to just open this package.json file right here, and I'm going to just provide type in quotes. This is a JSON file right here, so we have to use these quotes, and type will be now set to module. Okay, so now I'm going to save my file, and by the way, don't forget this comma. Like sometimes people forget this comma and they get an error. It's sometimes saving the file and something like that. Anyways, so just write this one line of code which is type to set to module, and then say bye bye to this file, then open your index.js file, and now if you run our code, and here you can see we are totally getting this hello Hussein right here. If you change that to something else like I don't know, Apple or something, so if you run it, and here you can see we are now getting hello Hussein and hello Apple right here. Okay, so our code is still working, but there is one more gotcha which you have to keep in mind. So let's suppose if I just remove that .js file extension and now I run it, so here you can see it will give us a beautiful error like cannot find the module. Very helpful, right? So it will give us that error, and we have to specify that .js extension right here. And there is one more gotcha which you have to keep in mind. We don't have access to that dash file name no more, so like we can't use this file name no more. I'm gonna save my file and I'm gonna run it, and it will give us this beautiful error like, what the hell are you doing, Hussein? What is that file name and all of that stuff? So dash file name is not defined in ES module scope. This file is being treated as a ES6 module because it has js file extension, and it is found in this location. So you can learn more about that if you want to, and you don't have no longer access to that dash dash dir name as well. So if we save that, and boom, we are getting this file name error, and we are also getting that other one, which is that, you know what, I'm going to just not come on, I'm going to save my file and run this one, and it is now giving us that dir name error right here. So we don't have access to both of these right now. So what we can do is that for that we are going to be using a path module, and it will allows us to get our path and all of that kind of stuff, which we'll learn next. But now we successfully can run our code. So let's suppose, let me just create another file. I'm going to give a name of like pupils, pupils.js. I'm going to declare a few variables like Hossein, let p2 will be equals to like Alex, and let p3 will be equals to Jordan Peterson. And now we have to tell other files like you can have access to these files. So what I'll do is that I'm going to just write export, and then I'm going to just write these curly brace right here. So I'm going to just provide p1 comma p2 comma p3. So this is how we can like export multiple things at one time. So now we export that. Now if you want to get it right here, so what do we have to do? We are going to be writing import and curly braces p1 p2 p3, and it will be now equals to, not equals to but from, and then specify the location. So we wanted to go into what do we call it, this come on pupils.js file right here. Now let me just log them to the console like p1 comma p2 comma p3, and now let me just run it. So here you can see we are now getting Hussein, Alex, and Jordan right here. So this is how we can use the modern way of importing and exporting, and this is what we are going to be using throughout this course. Alright, so next thing which you have to do is that we have to learn about something called the path module. Okay, so I'm going to just create a folder and file inside that folder, and now let's go to the documentation, and I'm going to just search for a path. Okay, so here you can see we have this path module right here. I'm going to click on that, and it will now brings us to this path module right here. Okay, so we have a few method on this path. So we have this base name method on this path, we have a delimiter, dir name for directory, and ext name for extension format is absolute, is for just a little bit of checking, and normalize function. We have a lot of functions right here. So if you want to get all of the code, you can also take a look at these documentation and learn more about that, like each of these function. So like what are they doing and why are they doing, you can learn more about that right here. But now it's time for us to write a little bit of code. So let's talk about the path module. Okay, so I'm going to just write, you know what, I'm going to first of all generate that package JSON right here. So I'll just go to the fourth folder, and I'm going to just use npm init-y in this case, and it will just answer all of our questions, and it will just generate that package.json file for us right here. Okay, so what I'll do is that I'm going to just open this package.json file, and I'm going to change the type to module. Okay, so just write type to module, and now here we can use or import and export right here. So what I'll do is that I'm going to just write import path from path module. Okay, so now path module will allows us to work with a path. Like what is a path? A path will look like this. Like first of all, we have a C drive, and inside this C drive we have a, I don't know, like courses or something, and then we have a Node.js course, and then we have like, I don't know, the path module folder or something like that. So we are going to be working with this kind of path by using Node.js. So I'm going to just remove that, and what I will do is that I'm going to first of all use path.baseName method, and here you can also learn more about that, like return the last portion of the path. So this method just return the last portion of the path. You can learn more about that right here. If you hover your mouse over to it, you can learn more about that right here inside of Visual Studio Code Editor, or you can just come to this documentation and learn more about that. So what I will do is that I'm going to just provide some sort of an arbitrary path right here, like some gibberish. So what I will do is that I'm going to write C, and inside this C I'm going to go into the Node.js, and like that. So I'm going to just provide double slashes right here, and then we would have index.js file right here for some reason. Okay, so I'm going to just save my file, and now I'm going to run it, and here you can see it will just gives us the last portion of this path. Okay, so the last portion is index.js. So if we change that to like, I don't know, not apple but app.html, and now if we save that, and here you can see it will now just gives us app.html right here. Okay, so and this is how we can use path.baseName, which allows us to get the last portion of our path. So now let's talk about how we can omit that extension. So we are going to be just writing like path.baseName, the same function. And what I'll do is that I'm going to just specify the same path right here. So I'm going to just copy that. I'm going to paste it right here, and I'm going to change that to JS extension. And now if you want to remove this .js extension from here, so we have to specify it right here like .js extension. I'm going to comment this line out, and now I'm going to run it, and here you can see it. In this case, we are just getting this app right here, not app.js, but we are just getting this app we are just getting this app. If we uncomment this, and now let me just save that, and let me just run this code. So here you can see we are now getting app.html, and in this case we are just omitting that extension. Okay, so I'm going to just close that and say bye-bye to both of them. And now what else do we need? We can also provide a directory if you want to. So I'm going to just write like console.log path.dir_name, which allows us to provide a directory name. So you know what, let me just go to our documentation, path.dir_name, and I am going to just click on this path.dir_name right here. And here you can see that the path.dir_name method returns the directory name of the path. Okay, so let's suppose if we just provide this, or you know what, let me just provide that same one. I'm going to copy that from here, and I'm going to just place it right here. So I'm going to just save that, and now I'm going to run my code. So here you can see it will now just gives us this Node.js right here, because this is a directory and this is a file, so it will just gives us these directory right here. So let's suppose if I just remove them, and I'm gonna just provide like, I don't know, maybe courses or something, and now I'm gonna save that, and let me just run that one more time. So here you can see it will just gives us the directory name, like the folder name. So we are getting the C drive, then Node.js, then courses right here. Okay, so this is how we can work with these dir name right here. So the next thing which I want to mention is also the extension name. So in some situation we would need extension of a file, so we are going to be using their path.ext name. Okay, so this ext name allows us to get the extension of that file. So let's suppose if I want to just get this URL, let me just copy that from here, and I'm going to just paste it right here. Okay, so now let me just save that, and then now let me just run that, and here you can see it will just gives us that .js extension right here. That's because here we are specifying that .js extension, so it is now giving us that .js extension right here. So I'm gonna just change that to like something else, like I don't know, maybe pug or something. I'm gonna save that, and now let me just run this code, and here you can see it will just gives us that extension. So this is how you can get extension from a file. Okay, so I'm going to just comment this line out, and now let's talk about a join. So if you want to talk about a join, we have to provide a label of strings right here. So I'll just write console.log path.join, and here we have to specify different kind of strings, and it will just generate a path based on that string. So I'll just write like C drive, and then I don't know, I'm going to go there, I'm going to provide a comma, and I'm going to just provide Hussein web dev for some reason, and then I'm going to just provide like courses or something like that, and I don't know, Redux toolkit course or something. Yeah, I guess that would be fine. So I'm going to save my file, and I'm going to run it, and here you can see it will now generate this path based on what we provide right here. Like we provide this string, and all of these strings, so it will now just generate this path based on these strings right here. So this is how we can use this join method. Okay, so I'm going to comment this line out as well, and let me say bye-bye to this one. And now the next thing which we have to do is that we can also go up a level 1 directory. So you know what, I'm going to duplicate this line of code, and here I'm going to specify the comma. Yeah, I'm going to just specify the comma, and I'm going to specify the quotes and dot, which means like let me just write a comment for myself, go up a level. Okay, so it will just allows us to go up a level. So in this case it gives us like toolkit, but in this case here it will just omit this Redux toolkit. It will give us C, Hussein web dev, and courses, but it will just remove this Redux toolkit because we are going up a level. So I'm going to just run this code, and here you can see it will just gives us C drive, Hussein web dev, and then courses, but it will just remove this Redux toolkit from here as well. So what I will do is that I'm going to uncomment this line out, I'm going to save it, and now let me just run this file. So if I just run it, in this situation it is giving us this Redux toolkit, but in this situation it is removing it from here. That's because of these two dots. If you want to go to this level like Hussein Web Dev, and you also want to remove these courses from here, so you can also do that. I'm going to just duplicate this line of code, and you can also provide comma and then dot dot one more time. So here you can see we specify these dots 2 times right here. Okay, so I'm going to just save this file, and I'm going to clear our terminal. And now if we run this code, and here you can see the first one will give us this Redux toolkit, then it will give us courses, and in this case it will omit that courses as well, because here we specify 2 dot dot I mean like 2 times that dot dot right here. Okay, so this is how you can omit these I mean like this is how you can go up a level one more time. So I'm going to just comment this line out, and I'm going to also comment this line out as well. And now let's talk about a normalize. So in some situation you would get like a very ugly the path. So I'm gonna just write call path dot what do you call it, normalize right here, and here I'm gonna just specify like a very ugly path right here, and it will just normalize it for me like courses and I don't know, Redux, and I'm going to just remove that to like I don't know, store maybe, and features or something like that. And I'm going to provide like I don't know, I'm going to just provide this link right here. So if you save our file, so it will just normalize our path. So I'm going to just provide a little bit of their dashes, not dashes but slashes one more time. And now if we run our code, and here you can see it will just gives us that exact same path right here. Here we just specify a lot of them, so I'm going to have to remove that, and also from here as well. And now let me just save that and check him out. So this is how we are getting like courses, and inside these courses we are getting, what in the world is going on? Let me just clear that. We are specifying 3 4 slashes right here. So now let me just remove that from the at the end. So I'm going to just save that, and here you can see it will just normalize our path right here. And once again you can learn all of these description I mean like all of these method right here inside these documentation if you want to. So I'm going to just close that. I'm going to comment this line out, and now let's talk about a parse method. So I'm going to just search for a parse. Okay, so this parse method, I'm going to click on it, and the path parse method returns an object whose property represent a significant element of that path. So it will give us directory name, root, base name, extension, and file name. So what I will do is that I'm going to just console.log path.parse, and I'm going to use this path right here. So I'm going to just copy this path from here, not a pug one but this one. I'm going to copy there, and I'm going to just place it right here. So now if you save our file, and now I'm going to run my code, and here you can see we are now getting all of the information about this path. Like the root will be set to this one, like our root file or directory is this C plus, not C plus plus but C, and our directory is now equal to this C Node.js and courses. Then our base is equal to this app.js, or extension is equal to this JS, and the file name is set to app. And so we can also get different kind of information based on the like parts, and I'm going to also specify the same URL right here like so. I'm going to comment this line out, and I'm going to just provide like I don't know, base maybe, save my file. And now if we run it, so here you can see it will just gives us the file name. If you want to get like let me just duplicate this line of code, and if you want to get the extension maybe, or maybe the name of the file, we can also get that, or we can also get the extension if you want to. So save our file, and now let's run it. So here you can see it will just gives us the base name, the file name, and also the extension right here. Okay, so there are a lot of things you can do with a path module, and this is a huge module. Like you can learn a lot of stuff right here, but the thing I show you is I would say like 80% of the time you would use these things, and that 20% you use like some other things which are mentioned in here, like I don't know, delimiter and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to just comment this line out, and that's a path module in Node.js. So that's it about a path module. So now let's learn about a new module called FS, or file system module. So I'm going to just create this folder, and inside this folder I'm going to create this file index.js. So before we getting into all of the code, first of all we have to search for their module, so which is file system module, which you can found right here. Okay, so I'm going to just click on that. So this FS module have three flavors. The first flavor it has is a promise API, the second is callback API, and the third one is a synchronous API. So we are going to be learning both of these three, like all of these three, and we are going to be writing a lot of code but not all of the code, because this module is like supremely long if you want to explore it by yourself. So feel free to do that. Like there are a lot of stuff you can learn right here, so I'm not going to go into that much detail, but we are going to be learning about like creating a directory, like folder, reading a content from the directory, removing the directory, and all of that kind of stuff. So now what I'll do is that I'm going to close that. Okay, so provide a comma in there, and I'm going to create three files inside there. So promise API, this is going to be the first one, and I'm going to copy this coding from here and I'm going to place it right there. I'm going to remove both of these files. Okay, so I'm going to copy that, paste it one more time. So we have these three files, like three folders, and inside of each of these folders we have these two files right here. Okay, so I'm going to change this one to like callback API or something, and I'm going to change this one to third and sync API. So I'm going to just show you a coding for one, and then I'll show you like what you can do to remove like all of that cluttered stuff. So I'm going to just go inside here, and let me just make that a bit bigger, promise API. Okay, so I'm going to go inside this index.html file, inside this index.js file, and I'm going to import everything as fs from this fs promises, promises, don't forget that s at the end. Okay, so we are going to be importing all of our content which we are going to be using from this fs and promises, and we give a name of like fs, and we are importing everything. Okay, so now let's talk about creating directory right here. So how can we create a directory, or create a folder rather, by using Node.js? So for that we are going to be using the try catch block. If we get some errors, so we are going to be logging that to the console. Otherwise you want to do whatever you want to do right here. So we are going to be using await, and as I said, like this is a promise API, so we are going to be using await right here. Like I use await because I don't want to change things like then and catch and all of that kind of stuff. If you don't know what a await keyword is, like async await, so feel free to watch someone else's video or something like that. Either read documentation or something, you will get to know what a asynchronous JavaScript is. Okay, so then what we have to do is that we have to get this fs from here, and we just have to write .mkdir. If you've worked with this terminal and you know how to create a folder, so you already know what a mkdir command will do for us. It will just create a new folder for us. Okay, so here we have to specify the real path right here, like not arbitrary, but here we have to specify the real path. So let's suppose if I want to create my folder inside the C drive, and here you can see I don't have any Node.js folder right here, like no Node.js folder whatsoever. So if I want to create that Node.js folder, so what I will do is that I'm going to just write C drive. I'm going to go into a C drive, and I'm going to just use Node.js right here. Okay, so if you want to create that folder, like this Node.js folder inside this C drive, so how can you go about doing that? We already write a code for that, and now let's just write some sort of a log for ourselves, like I don't know, folder created and ... So now if you save that, now if I run my code, so here you will see a Node.js folder. Okay, so I'm gonna just run my code right now, and here you can see it is now giving us this message like folder created, and here you can also see this Node.js folder right here. If you double click on it, and here you can see we don't have no content, nothing inside this folder, but now our folder is created right here. So the next thing which I'm gonna do is that, I'm gonna delete this folder one more time. I'm gonna delete that. I don't know how to delete it. Just click on it, and it will now delete it from here. And now the next thing which I'm going to do is that I am going to show you an error. So here we do specify this C drive right here. We do specify this node modules, like this Node.js folder right here. And now I'm going to go inside there, and I'm going to create a new folder, like, I don't know, courses maybe. So if I just run this code, I'm going to save this file. And if I run this code, we are getting this nasty error like no such file or directory mkdir with this location is found. So why is that we are getting that error? That's because our path is valid from this point to this point right here, like we have this C drive, but we don't have any Node.js folder right here. What we are telling Node.js is that we want to go inside this C drive, and then inside this C drive we already have this Node.js folder. So inside this folder I want you to create this courses folder for me, but currently we just have this C drive and we don't have this Node.js right here, so that's why we are getting that nasty error. Okay, so let's suppose if I just create this Node.js folder right here, let me just run this code one more time, and it is saying like no such a file or directory is found. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to create a Node.js folder right here, and here you can see we have that Node.js folder right here. So now if we run our code, so I'm going to just run my code, and here you can see it is saying like folder created. And now if we go inside this Node.js folder, so what are we seeing? We are getting our courses folder right here as well. So let me just make that a bit bigger so you guys can see everything a bit better right here. So we have to specify a valid path in this case because they don't play no games. So yeah, but if you still want to create that folder, let me just delete this folder from here. You know what, I'm gonna just, yeah, this is how we can delete this folder. Anyway, so now we delete this folder, and now if we run our code, so here you can see it will just give us that error. But if you still want to create this folder, like if you want to go inside this C drive and you want to create a Node.js folder, and inside this Node.js folder you want to create a courses folder, so for that you are going to be providing this flag, which is called first of all you have to specify these curly braces, then you have to specify recursive, and then set that to true. Okay, so now if you save that, and now if you run our code, so here you can see it is now saying like folder created. And now if you check him out, let me just remove that from here, and now if you check him out, here you can see we have this Node.js, then we have courses and all of that stuff. So I'm going to delete that one more time, and what I will do is that I'm going to create a new folder inside there, like courses Redux, and inside this Redux course, inside this Redux folder, I want to create one new folder which will be like toolkit or something like that. So I'm going to just save my file, and now I'm going to run my code, and here you can see folder is created. I'm going to check it, and here you can see we have courses Redux. Inside this Redux we have this Redux toolkit right here. So anytime you want to create all of these folders, for that you are going to be providing this recursive and set that to true. Okay, so what I'll do is that I'm going to remove this coding from here, so save a bar to that. So this is how we can create a directory, and this is how we can provide a recursive flag to it. So that was it about creating a folder. So now let's learn about how we can read the content of that folder. So what I will do is that I'm going to just write const files, and it will be now set to await, and we want to use fs dot you know what, I'm going to hit undo, and it will now give us Node.js courses, Redux, and Redux toolkit right here. So we have all of these folders right here. Okay, so I'm gonna go inside this Node.js, and I'm gonna remove all of that folder. So we just have this Node.js right here, and here I'm using that fs, and I'm gonna use different method in this case because we are reading the directory. So we are going to be writing like read dir. Okay, so it allows us to read our directory. So I'm gonna just provide C drive and Node.js, and inside this Node.js we just want to read that. Okay, and now let me just remove this console log from here, and here what we have to do, we have to specify the for of loop, like we have to iterate over through all of the files which we are currently getting. So I'll just write for of, and here I'm going to just specify the file, and here files, and now let me just log that to the console like file, not files but file. There we go. I'm going to just provide a file right here, semi-file. So now if you run our code and we are not getting anything, that's because we didn't specify any files right here. So let's suppose if you have some sort of a file, so like I don't know, I'm gonna just create a text file, and I'm gonna just give a name of like I don't know, hello.js or something. You know, I'm going to just give a name of like hello. I'm gonna hit enter, and I'm going to just specify some sort of a content inside there. Why it's not opening? Open it, come on, it's taking forever. And I'm gonna just write hello Hussein. Okay, so I'm going to save my file, and now if you run our code, and here you can see we are just getting hello.txt right here. If you have like more file than that, let me just copy and paste and paste. Let me just copy and paste there all the time. And now let me just clear the terminal, And now let me just run this code, and here you can see it will now gives us all of the files which we currently have available inside this folder. So I'm going to just remove all of these files from here. Okay, so let's just clear this out, and yep, that's totally okay. This is how we can read the file, like read the content of the file. And now let's talk about how we can remove folder / directory. Okay, but if you want to remove a directory, first of all, it should have to be empty. So like, let's suppose if you want to create a courses folder right here, I just create a courses folder inside this Node.js right here. Inside this Node.js, I have this courses folder. There we go. But both of these folders are totally empty. So if you want to remove that, it should have to be empty. Like if we have any file whatsoever, like any content whatsoever, it will not remove it. So I'm going to also show you that. So I'm going to just write await and then fs dot what do we call it, rmdir. So if you are aware of that rmdir from terminal, you already know what it will do for us. So I'm going to just use like fs and then rmdir, and here we have to specify the path. So I'm going to just provide, I want to go into the Node.js, and inside this Node.js we want to go to the courses. Okay, so we just wanted to remove this courses folder from there. And why we are getting this nasty error? Come on, we don't want to provide any file link whatsoever. Anyways, so here you can see we just provide this path, like we want to go into the Node.js and we want to remove this courses folder, or maybe both of these folders. So I'm going to just run this code right here, and it will not give us anything. But if you go inside this Node.js right here, so it will just remove that final thing or that final folder which we have provided right here. Okay, so let's suppose if I run this code one more time, it will say like no such a file or directory like rmdir, like we don't find that courses which you specify right here. So we don't have any courses right here inside this Node.js, so you can delete that. Anyways, so what I will do is that I'm going to create that courses folder one more time. I'm going to just create that folder right here. I'm going to give a name of like courses, and inside this courses, in this case, I'm going to just create a new file, and I'm going to just give a name of like hello. Okay, so now currently we just have this file, like this folder is no longer empty, so it will not delete it. So if you save our file and now if you run it, and here you can see directory not empty rmdir, it should have to provide directory is not empty, so it's saying directory not empty rmdir. So we have to first of all remove that directory, like first of all we have to empty that directory, then we can remove it from our computer. So I'm going to just run this code one more time, and it will just remove that directory from this Node.js file right here. Oh my goodness, we have to go back by using that. And now if you go inside, so it will just remove that directory from here. So that's that. So now it's time to learn about how we can create. Why in the world we are getting this error? I'm going to go inside there one more time, and that's gone. Anyway, so now let's learn about how we can create and write files. Okay, so like how we can create a file and how we can write to a file. So what I will do is that I'm going to remove this code, like this line of code right here, and I'm going to just write await one more time fs, and in this case I'm going to write file right here, this write file method. And here we are not going to be specifying any path whatsoever. We can specify it, but in this case I wanted to get like this folder inside, I want to get this file which we are going to be creating inside this directory. So I'm not going to be specifying any location whatsoever. So what I'll do is that I want to get like readme.md file, and inside this file I want to get like hello Node.js right here. So what we are doing is that we are creating a new file, give a name of like readme.md, and we are providing this content to it, like hello, let me just get the hello Node.js. So we are just providing this content inside this readme.md. Okay, so what I will do is that I'm going to just run this code, and here you will notice that file, like we currently don't have any readme.md file, but if I run this code, and here you can see we have this readme.md file right here. Okay, so I'm going to just double click on it, and here you can also see that we are getting this hello Node.js. Why? This is coming from this Node.js hello Node.js message right here, which we are specifying it right here. I'm going to close that, and this is how we can create a file, and this is how we can specify new content to it. But there is a gotcha. If I just remove that, instead of Node.js, I'm going to change that to Hossein web dev. Okay, so if we save our file, like currently we have this hello node.js right here, but if we run this code one more time, I mean like run this file one more time, if we go inside this readme.md, and what we are getting is hello Hussein web dev right here, where in the word is or hello node.js, where is that? Well, that's replaced with Hussein web dev, because Hussein web dev have a lot of power, so that's why that's got replaced. Anyways, but if you wanted to append the content, so you can also append the content if you wanted to. So by default it will just replace it with a new content, but if you want to append more content into this file, so you can also provide more content into it. I'm going to show you that a bit later, like how you append your content into that file. Now let's learn about reading a file. So how can we read our file and how we can like interact with it? So now the next thing which we have to do is that we have to remove this line of code, and I'm going to just write const data, because we are going to be getting some sort of a data. We are reading our file. I'm going to just use a word fs.read file right here, in this case read file method. So which kind of file we wanted to read? Well, we just want to read our readme.md file, so I'm going to just write readme.md file right here, and I'm going to just log that to the console. So like I'll just write like console.log data right here. But what do you think will be the result if we just run this code? So if I just run it right here, it will give us something called a buffer, or some people call it a buffer buffer or buffer. It will give us that buffer. But if you wanted to get the actual data from this file, so for that we are going to be providing a flag to it. So which kind of flag we want to provide? We are going to be providing the UTF-8. So I'm going to just provide UTF-8 right here. So if you just provide this UTF-8, and if we save our file, and now if we run it, and here you can see it will now gives us the content of that file, like hello Hussein web dev right here. Okay, so this is how we can read the files. So now let's talk about appending the data. So what I will do is that I am going to use, you know what, I'm going to remove both of these line out, and I'm going to just write await fs.append data, or append file in this case, and I'm going to just select my readme.md, and I'm going to just provide like I don't know, Node.js is the best right here. So if you want to append this data to this readme.md file, like hello Hussein web dev, and we want to append this Node.js is the best data into this file, so we are going to be using this append file. And now if we save our file, and now let me just run this code, and it will just append it. We can also provide that log for us, but anyways, I'm going to just open that, and what we are getting is that Node.js is the best. Okay, so we are now getting this line of code. So if you want to append something else like Hussein is also the best instructor or best teacher, so now I'm going to save that, and I'm going to run my file, and let me just open that, and here you can see it is now giving us Hussein is also the best instructor in the entire world. Yeah, so this is how we can append new content to our file. Okay, so now let's talk about copying a file. So I'm going to change the label to copy, come on, copy file. Okay, so we are going to be getting the content from one file, and we are going to be creating a new file, and we are going to be placing our content into that new file. So how can you go about doing that? So I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to just use await fs.copy file, as you guessed it, and we are going to be selecting our readme.md file, which is this file right here, and we want to take all of the content which this readme.md has, and we want to create a new folder. So I'm going to just create a new folder, like I don't know, maybe info.txt would be fine, and I'm going to just place all of the content from this readme.md to this info.txt. Currently we don't have that info.txt file right here, but once we run our code we will have that info.txt file. So what I will do is that I am going to run my file, and here you can see we are now getting this info.txt. I'm going to double click on it, and what we are getting all of the content right here, like hello Hussein web dev, Node.js is the best, and Hussein is also the best right here. Okay, so this is how we can copy the content from one file and place it into another file right here. So now let's talk about getting the information, so statistics or something like that, whatever you want to call it. So get file information, there we go. and I'm going to remove this line of code, and I'm going to just write info because we are getting some sort of a data, and then I'm going to use fs.stat for statistics or stats or whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to just get a statistics from that info.txt file which we've created just a second ago, this one. Okay, so now I have that. What I will do is that I'm going to log that to the console, like info. Maybe I'm going to just log that to a console, and I'm going to run my code, and here you can see we are getting a lot of data about that file. So we have development, the mod, the end link, the UID, the GID, info, not info but INO, the size 61, and we are getting a lot of info about that file, but we can also get a specific info if you want to. So I'm going to duplicate this line, I'm going to comment this line out, and I'm going to just provide like is directory. Is it directory or a file? Like, is this a directory? Like, is this a folder or a file? So if I just run there, it's not a file, it's a directory. No, yeah, is it a directory? What I just said, is directory or a file? So it's not a directory, it is giving us false. Like, it is a file, so that's why we are getting false right here. Okay, so now I'm going to log one more thing to the console, like console.log info.isFile in this case, and now I'm going to just run there, and now let me just save there, and here it will now gives us true right here because this is a file, this is not a directory, so it will gives us true right here. So that was the first flavor of this what do we call it, fs module. Okay, so you can still run all of that method in this callback API and in this sync API as well, but in this callback API you can also pass a callback if you want to, and I'm going to tell you the difference between passing a callback and not passing a callback later on in this course, but currently I just want to show you the syntax. So let's suppose I'm going to just import everything as fs from just fs, not promises. In this case we are not getting anything from promises, we are just getting everything as a fs, like we are giving alias of their, yeah, this is just an alias. And yeah, here what we are doing is, like, let's suppose if you want to create a file, so for that we have a method called mkdir. So I'm going to just use, we are not going to be also using the try catch block in this case because this is not a promises, we are not working with the promises in this case. In this case we are just using a callback, so we can just write fs.mkdir, and let's suppose you want to create a c, you know, I'm going to delete this folder from here, I'm going to delete this folder from here, and I'm going to just go inside this Node.js, and I just want to create this Node.js folder right here inside this C drive, and I'm going to get my error if we got error. And then what do we have to do, I'm going to just write, like, if we get some sort of error, so then we want to throw that same error. Okay, if you don't have any error, so you would just want to log to the console like directory created. You don't have to do that, but I'm just doing it because we want to see some sort of a message. I'm going to run my file, and directory is created right here. So if you go inside there, it's empty. So in this case, like, you can read the file, you can write to a file, you can read the content from one file, you can do all of that stuff which I just mentioned inside this promise API. But in this case you don't have to write try catch block, and in this case you can specify this callback function right here. So what I will do is that I'm going to just copy these two lines of code, and I'm going to remove this callback from here. I'm going to also delete this Node.js folder from here. I'm going to just provide a function. You can either provide this function with a name, or you can provide a callback function. So I'm going to just write error, and I'm going to just write, if we get some sort of error, throw that same error right here. Otherwise we just want to get like directory create, come on, created, there we go. And now if you save that, and now let's just run our code, and here you can see that directory will be created right here. So you can do all of that stuff. I don't want to just like make this course a bit more huge than that. So yeah, you get the idea. You don't have to use the try and catch blocks, and you can specify a callback function right here. So that was it about promise API, the callback API, and this one will allows us to write our code synchronously. This promise will allow us to write our code asynchronously. This one will allow us to run our code synchronously. Okay, so if you don't know the difference between synchronous and asynchronous, so you can either watch my video on that or someone else's video on YouTube, or you can read the documentation about asynchronous programming and all of that kind of stuff. So now let's start working. So I'm gonna just write import and everything, import everything, come on, import everything as fs from fs module right here. Okay, so let's suppose if you want to create a directory, so we can just write fs.mkdir. You already know that, and in this case we can just write our code. We don't have to specify the try catch block, and we also don't have to specify that callback function right here. Okay, so we can just write like C drive, go to the C drive, go to the Node.js file. Do we have? Yeah, we do have inside this Node.js folder. We want to create a new folder like test, and inside this test folder we want to create a demo folder, and I'm going to also provide that what do we call it, recursive true, because I just want to make this folder. I don't want to check them, so I'm going to just hit enter, not enter, but I'm going to just run my file, and Node.js recursive is true mkdir. So why we are getting this nasty error? What is it saying? The CB argument must be a type of function. Oh, that's because we forgot to include a sync right here. As I said, this is a sync, so I'm gonna have to provide a sync. And now if we run it, and here you can see it will just create that folder right here. So we have test. Inside this test we will get to see our demo, and here you can see we have that demo folder right here. So you can do all of that stuff. Like you can read the content, you can copy the file, you can append to a file, you can remove or delete the directory and all of that kind of stuff. But anything you do, you have to specify this sync at the end right here. You just have to provide this sync at the end. So like let's suppose if you want to remove that directory, so remove directory, so I'm gonna just use fs.rmdir sync in this case. Like you can't forget a sync at the end if you are working with a synchronous version of it. So you don't have to specify try catch and also the callback function, but you can't forget the sync at the end. So let's suppose if you want to just remove like I don't know, maybe C drive, I want to remove Node.js. Come on, you know what, I'm gonna just copy this line out, and I'm gonna just remove this last demo folder which we have right here. So inside this test folder we have this demo. We want to remove that, and I'm going to save this file. I'm going to just run it, and it will just remove it from here. Yep, that's gone from this test right here. So I'm going to just comment this line out, and yep, that's gone. So you can do all of that stuff which I mentioned right here, but in this case you have to specify this sync, and I already show you the differences between all of them. So I'm going to just remove these two folders, I mean like files from here as well. So that's a FS module in Node.js. Alright, so now let's talk about a operating system module. So OS module index.js. Okay, so now let's go into the documentation, and I'm going to just search for OS or operating system. Come on, OPRATING OS in the uppercase. Yep, there we go. So we found that operating system module right here. This OS module will gives you information based on your current operating system, like the architecture, the CPU, and the free memory, like home directory, the host name, and all of that. So now let's just use them. So what I'll do is that I'm going to go, and now let's just type import OS from OS. Okay, so let's suppose if you want to get information about what platform specific, so I'm going to just use OS for operating system and then platform, and I'm going to just execute this function. Okay, so I'm going to just run this file, and here you can see it will now give us the Win32. I'm using the Windows 64 version, I mean like 64-bit, but it is giving us the platform specific version right here, so which is 32, and you can learn more about that right here. So like we have what do we call it, platform. Where is that platform? PLAT. There we go. So if I just click on it, and it will now give us this definition, like returns a string identifying the operating system platform for which the Node.js binary was compiled. So like Linux use IX, and it will give us there based on different kind of operating systems right here, but on Windows you will get this 32 platform specific version right here. Okay, so that was it about the OS platform. So now let me just log to the console OS arc. the architecture which my operating system is currently using. So I'm going to just run my file, and it will now give us this 64 right here. So if you're using like Windows 32-bit, so it will just give us 32. In my case, I happen to be using 64, so it is now giving us the 64 architecture right here. Okay, so I'm going to just copy that, and not copy, but let me just write them manually. And now let's just use CPUs. So now if we run that, it will now give us information based on their CPUs, like the model of the CPU, the speed, and the times, and you can learn more about that. And your information will be totally different than mine. Okay, so here you can get a lot of information. You can even destructure that if you want to, but in my case, that was it. So now let me just log to the console os dot I don't know, host name would be fine. So what will be the host name? So I'm going to save there, and the host name is equal to this desktop and this name right here. Okay, so that's easy and awesome as well. So you can get like a lot of information about your current operating system. So I'm going to just use like home, not home, but yeah, I'm going to just use my home dir, like home directory. So I'm going to save that, and it will now give us users and Hussein right here. Okay, my name, I'm going to comment there, and I'm going to use os.network interface. I'm not going to run this file right now because it will show you information about my network, so I'm going to just leave that for you. If you want to run it, so feel free to run there. And then let me just write like os.free mem for the free memory. Okay, like how much free memory I have. So I have this amount of free memory, and it will give us in bits, so that's fine. It's a lot. And now let me just log to the console, like how many memory I have, like total memory. Okay, so what will be my total memory? I'm going to save this file, and I'm going to run it, and this is the amount of total memory in my hard drive. Okay, so that was it about operating system module in Node.js. So there's the operating system module. So now let me just create another one. 7 URL uniform resource locator module and index.js right here. So now let me just search for their URL. Okay, so if you can get it, and here you can see we have this URL module right here. I'm going to click on that, and you can learn about like the hash, the host name, and also the href, the origin, the password, the path name, the port, and you can learn a lot of stuff, but I'm going to just show you a few of them. So the first thing what I will do is that I'm going to have to open my terminal. And that's cool, and I'm going to just import the URL, just a URL. It will give us a constructor, so that's why we are just getting the URL, and I'm going to use const my URL, or you can give any name you want, but in my case I'm going to just give a name of like my URL, and it will be now equals to new URL. And here I am going to specify like some sort of a URL right here. You can specify any kind of URL right here, but I am going to just specify just an arbitrary URL like www.example.com, and I'm going to also provide the port name, which will be like 8080 one more time. And then I'm going to just provide some sort of a path like path, go back. And then I will also provide a query right here. So I'll just provide a query parameter, and don't worry about all of this stuff which I'm writing right now. If you get into the Express.js with me, you will master every single thing which I'm writing right now. And then finally I'm going to just provide a hash right here. Okay, so now if you save that, and if you want to get information about this current path which we just specified right here inside this new URL constructor, or I shouldn't have to say path because this is a URL, and URL just simply stands from a uniform resource locator. Okay, so I'm going to log to the console like my URL dot hash. Let's suppose if you want to just get this hash version right here, so I'm going to just save that, and I'm going to just run it. And why it's taking so much time? Okay, so now it will give us that hash right here. We can also get different kind of information, so I'm going to just duplicate that and change this hash to host. So like let's suppose if you want to check the host, I'm going to comment this line out, and now let's just run it. So I have to save it, come on. So it will give us this host right here, like Hussein Web Dev, or if you have like your own website, so you can also get this host name right here. Anyways, if you want to get the port, so you can also get your port like my URL, and you can get like I don't know, the host name maybe. So if you save there, and here you can see it will just gives us the host name without a port, which is this port right here. or you can just or if you just want to get the port name, so you can just specify that port right here. Okay, so if you just specify that port, save that and just run it, and here you can see it will give us the port of 88 here right here. Okay, and you can also get the href if you want to, so it will now give us the all of the path right here, like all of the href. In HTML we use like anchor tag and we provide href of some value to it, so it will give us that href right here. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate that and comment this line out, and now let me just write I don't know, the protocol maybe. So let's suppose if you just want to get a protocol, so now I'm going to just save that and run it, and it will give us the HTTPS protocol right here. So if we were using like just HTTP and just run this code, so it will just give us that HTTP protocol right here. So we happen to be using HTTPS, so that's why we are getting the HTTPS protocol. So let's suppose if you want to get a search, so let's just write a search. So here you can see it will give us that query and whatever you are searching for. So in this case we are just writing string, so it will just give us string. So later if you join me on my Express course, then you will get to know how to create different products and all of that kind of stuff. So my URL dot search and also get a params. So let's suppose we just want to get the search param. So now let me just run that, and it will be now set to the query, and it will be now set to the string. Okay, so I'm going to comment this line out as well, and these stuff are like important, but in some situation not that much often. I'm going to write a code and both works the same. Okay, both of these code works the same. So like if I just write my URL dot to string, and now let me just call that and duplicate that, and we can also just write to JSON, and now let me just save my file, and I'm going to clear this screen out, and if I run it, so here you can see both of them will give us the same result right here. Anyway, so that's it about the URL module. So you can learn more about that, like this URL module, and you can either require it by using the ES6 version or the require method right here. So yeah, this is how you can learn crazy amount of stuff about this URL, which I'm not gonna go into that much in detail. You can even set that to something else, like if you get it by using this method, you can just provide the equal to sign and you can change it to whatever you want to change. Okay, so this stuff is totally easy, so that's why I didn't want to waste a lot of your time on doing that. Okay, so that was it about a URL module. Alrighty, so that was it about a URL module. So now let's talk about one of my favorite module on the entire Node.js, which is called HTTP module. Okay, so I'm going to just create this folder. Inside this folder I create this index.js file, and I'm going to go into that folder. So now I'm going to just search for HTTP, and luckily for us I already did that. I'm going to just click on HTTP, and here you can learn crazy amount of stuff right here. But the thing we are currently interested in is something called a server, like how we are going to be creating our own server and all of that kind of stuff. So I am going to just write type, and it will be now set to module, and provide a comma in there. So if you are coming from some sort of a PHP background and you've worked with Apache or something like that, so in that places you don't have to create a server by yourself. So if you are working with the Node.js, so you have to create a server by yourself. And I know it sounds horrible, like creating a server. It's the most easiest thing you can do, and you do that like for every kind of project, so you will get a lot of practice. And in real world project, you are not going to be creating a server by using Node.js, but instead you are going to be using some sort of a library or framework like Express.js. So later if you've decided to learn Express.js with me, so I'm going to show you what to do and what not to do. So the code which I'm about to write, it does work, but I have to say, like, nowadays nobody write code like this in Node.js. They use Express.js library, I mean like framework, and they create a server in Express.js. So I'm showing you the Node version, the vanilla version of creating a server. So what I will do is that I'm going to just write import HTTP from HTTP. Now I import this HTTP module right here, so I'm gonna have to get this HTTP right here, and I have to use this create server. And then here you have to specify a function, and it will not take any name, and here you can specify the request and the response. And if you want to make it like arrow function, so feel free to do that. I'm gonna do it as well. So now we successfully create our server. Congratulations, we successfully created our server, but now we have to store that in some sort of a variable. So I'm going to just give a name of like server. You can give a name of Apple if you want to. server, there we go. So now we do that, and it will take like request, like which kind of request is the user making, and we can also provide some sort of a response to it, like some sort of a response to a user. So what I will do is that I'm going to just write server.listen outside from this function, I mean like this create server right here. Okay, I'm gonna have to provide a port right here, so I'm gonna just provide a port of 8000, and then I'll just log to the console like some sort of a message for myself, like server up baby, server up. So now we successfully create our server, and now our server is listening on port 8000 right here. So like anytime we go to our browser and we just write like localhost and 8000, and if we hit enter, but our server, I mean like our file should have to run, so it will give us some sort of information based on that. So what I will do is that here I'm gonna just log to the console like request, like which kind of request are we sending. So it will give us a lot of information about this request. So I'm gonna go back, and now I have to run my file. So I'm gonna run it, and server is up right here. But now if I hit enter, like first of all I have to write this local host of 8000, and I'm gonna hit enter, and now here you can see our server is spinning right here. But if we check out our terminal, here you can see we are getting countless of information about this server, like the host, the parent, and all of their method and properties. Like this stuff is totally insane. So what you have to do is that you have to hold control and hit F, and here you just have to type URL, and we are not interested in this URL. I'm gonna just click on this one, and here you can see we are just interested in this URL, and this / means a home. Like if we just provide this / right here, and if we hit enter, it means like we are going to our home page. Or if we didn't provide any anything whatsoever, it will just by default redirect us to our home page. And we can also provide / about and all of that kind of stuff, which I'm about to show you. Okay, so we are just interested in this URL property on this request. So I'm going to close this one, and I'm going to also clear it out and stop my server right here. So if you stop it, everything is working the way we expect them to work. So I'm going to just comment this line out like so. So the next thing which I want to show you is that we have to send some sort of a result to our user so that user can see some stuff. So let me just write like res.write right here. So if you just write res.write, and this write method will allow us to write some sort of a code. So what I will do is that I'm going to just write h1 of like I don't know, hello from Node.js server. Okay, and I'm gonna just close my h1 right here. Okay, so now if we save our file, we have to run our code one more time, but I'm gonna have to close this file right here, and I'm going to run my code one more time. Server is up right here, and now I'm going to open my new tab, and I'm going to just search for localhost 8000. Okay, and I'm going to hit enter, and what are we getting? We are getting this hello from Node.js server. That's cool. So now what currently we are doing, I'm going to have to stop this one. What currently we are doing is that we are creating our server, and we are getting some sort of a request, like when the user hit this port like 8000. So what do you want to do? We wanted to show the user this h1 of hello from Node.js server right here. Okay, so that's completely awesome. So if you want to end the server, I mean like end the response, so you can also just write like res.end, and you can provide some sort of a message to a user by doing that, which I'm going to also show you just in a second. But let me show you one more thing. You know, I'm going to uncomment this line out, and I'm going to run my server one more time. So our server is up, and now I'm going to have to go in here and refresh it, and it will still gives us that hello from Node.js. I'm going to right click on it and click on this inspect area right here like so, and then I want you to just click on this network panel right here and refresh your browser one more time. So once you refresh your browser, so what you will see this local host right here. I just did that by mistake. I don't know how to undo that. Anyways, so I'm gonna just go back so that you guys can see everything a bit better, and I guess something is not right, so I'm going to click on him. All right, so now it's working. Anyway, so here you can see our request URL is set to this http localhost 8000, and our request method is set to get. Our status code is to 200 right here, and okay, and our or remote address is this port, which is this port right here, and we don't have access to something called a content type, like which kind of data are we sending to our server, like which kind of data are we showing to the user. Are we sending some sort of a JSON format or HTML or just a plain text even? So now if you want to show to a user like which kind of data are we sending, so for that we are going to be writing what do we call it, res.set header. And here what I will do is that I am going to just write content dash type, and I'm going to just have to set that to what do we call it, text / and plain, or you know what, I'm going to set that to HTML, because in this case we are sending HTML text right here. So now if we save that, and I'm gonna have to stop it and then run it one more time, so our server is up one more time, and now I'm gonna have to refresh, click on localhost one more time, and what you will see is the content type is now set to text and HTML right here. Okay, so this is how we can set our headers right here. So what I'll do is that I'm going to comment this line out, and the next thing which I want to show you is the status code. Like here you can see our status code is now currently set to 200 right here, but in some situation if we get like some sort of like other route, like if you just go to this route, our status code will be still equal to like 200. So if you want to change that to like 404 or something like that, so we can also do that. So I'll just write res.status code, and it will be now equals to like 404 like so, and we can also even send a status message if you want to. So I'll just write res.status not code status message, and it will be now equals to like bad or not found or something like that. So I'm going to just save my file. Let me just stop it, and let me just open my run my server one more time, and now let me just refresh them, and here you can see we are now getting that status code right here. So if I click on him, so it will now give us 404 bad request right here. So I'm gonna have to remove that stuff from there as well. If we click on him one more time, so here you can see it will now give us 404 and bad request. So this is how you can play around with the server and all of that kind of stuff. We can also use a shortcut for that, so I'm going to just save them, and I'm going to just write I don't know, shorthand for status code message, for status message, and also for header. So we can also write shorthand for that. So I'm going to just write res.writehead, WRITE, and head like so, and it will be now equals to 202. First of all, we are going to be providing the code, and then we are going to be providing the status message like good or something like that, and then comma we can also provide or content and all of that kind of stuff. So this was the thing I was talking about. You know, I'm gonna have to provide first of all these curly braces, and then instead of that comma I'm gonna have to provide this value as object right here. So I'm gonna save my file. Let's just stop our server one more time and rerun it again, and now let's just refresh our browser. I'm gonna click on him, and here you can see we are now getting 202 good request, and our content type is now set to text /HTML right here. So I'm gonna stop my server right here, say bye to them. And that was just a little bit introduction about HTTP. So now let me just talk to you about routing in HTTP module. So how can we specify different routes for our users? So once again, I'm going to show you the code, but this code is not that much usable. I mean, like nowadays, a lot of people use like Express.js. They don't even use Node.js for these kind of stuff, but I'm just showing you anyways, just in case if you go to some sort of interview and they ask you to provide routing by just using vanilla Node.js, not Express.js, so you would be able to provide them the solution, because I'm showing you that right now. So now let's just talk about routing in HTTP module or something like that. Okay, so inside this folder I'm going to create index.js file, and that's cool. Save my file, say bye to this one, and now let me just import first of all my HTTP module from HTTP. Let me just zoom in a bit. First of all, what we have to do, we have to create our server. So I'm going to just use like http.create server. It will take request and also the response, and now inside this server we are going to be doing a lot of stuff. So let's just listen on port 8000. You can provide 2000 or 808 or something like that if you wanted to, but in my case I'm gonna just listen on port 8000, and server up baby. Okay, so here what I'll do, come on. All right, so now let's talk about the real routing. So if somebody, like, let me just show you this forward slash means the home page, and this forward slash about, you can specify the about, you can specify, like, I don't know, contact page or something like that. And we are not going to be going into that much detail of like a specific ID of some sort, and we are not going to be also learning about like I don't know, product and search query or something like that. We are not going to be talking about that, but we are going to be just talking about the basic simple routing in Node.js. So I'm going to just delete that. And here we already know that we have access to that request.url property. So like rec.url, which I showed you just a second ago. Or let me just log that to a console so you guys can see everything a bit better. rec.url. I'm going to save my file, run my code, and server is up. Now I'm going to go into my local host. And now if you save that, it will now gives us this forward slash right here, which means like we are just going to the home page. And let's suppose if I just stop this server right here, I'm going to stop it and I'm going to just clear it out. And let's suppose if I run this server one more time, let me just close that, let me just run this server one more time. And let's suppose if I just write like localhost and forward slash I don't know, Hossein web dev or something like that, and if I hit enter, okay, so here you can see we are now getting this Hossein web dev right here rather than this home page. So that's why we are going to be doing a routing. And here our server is hung up and we are not able to see anything right here. Go back. I don't know what happened. I'm gonna have to close my server. So now that we know that we have access to that request.url, so now let's just provide our conditional rendering right here. So if a request.url is equal to, in quotes, this forward slash, so which means like home. So I'm gonna just provide like res.end, and we can just provide like h1 of I don't know, I'm gonna just write home, and here I'm gonna also put an emoji of home. You don't have to do that, but I'm doing it because in the recording. Okay, so here I'm gonna save my file. So if somebody hit this request, like if somebody go to this local host 8000 right here, so what do you want to print them? So we just want to print them home and this home emoji right here. Other than that, like if they had like about section or Hossein web dev or context section or anything like that, we're not going to be showing them anything. So what I will do is that I'm going to run my file right here, server is up, I'm going to go into the local host, and now I'm going to just hit enter right here. Okay, so here you can see we are now getting home, and that emoji will be encoded like this. So that's awful. I thought I'm working in Express.js, but I'm not. I'm gonna have to remove that home emoji. I'm gonna have to save my file and rerun my server, refresh it, and now that emoji is gone. Anyways, so that's the first route. So we are now getting this home page right here. So now let me just stop there, and now let me just run that one more time, and we are getting some sort of error. I don't know why. Let me just clear that, run it, and now server is up. Anyways, so now let's just go to some sort of other route, like I don't know, about section or something like that. And if you hit enter, and here you can see our server is hung up and it doesn't have any idea like what in the world should I do now. You didn't provide any else clause right here. What the hell should I do? So now I'm gonna close this or stop my server right here, remove them, and now let's just provide another route right here. So else if, so if somebody hit this URL, print them h1 of home. If somebody hit this URL, which I'm about to write, so request.url, and it will be now equals to like some sort of about. Okay, so we just wanted to print them like res.n, and we wanted to just print them like h2, maybe h2 of about section or something like that. And let me just close that right here. So I'm going to save my file, and now I'm going to run my file right here, and it is saying like server is up. And now let me just go into my local host and forward slash about right here. So I'm going to just go to about, hit enter, and what are we getting? We are getting this h2 and about section right here. Okay, so everything is working the way we expect him to work. What if you go to just a home section? Let me just remove that and hit enter, and here you can see we are now getting this home section right here. So everything is working the way we expect them to work. So we can also provide different kind of others like elsef of request.url, and it will be now set to I don't know, contact or something like that. We can show them a form like res.send, or not send but res.end in this case, and we can send them to like something else like h3 I don't know, contact form. We can also even show them a contact form if you want to, but in this case this is just a simple routing, so I'm not going to go into that much detail. I'm going to have to stop the server and relaunch it one more time, and now I'm going to have to go into the contact section. So I'm going to hit enter, and here you can see we are now getting this h3 and this contact right here. So that's there. And finally, like if somebody hit like, I don't know, some gibberish, like let's suppose if some user hit this gibberish and hit enter, so our server will hang up. So finally we are going to be writing like else right here, and let's just write like a res.n, and let's just write like I don't know, h1 404 page not found or something like that, page not found. And let's just put our sad face, but before we do that I'm gonna have to close that. Let's just put our sad face right here. Okay, so if somebody hit this port, so you want to show them home. If somebody hit this port, we want to show them about section. If somebody hit this port, we want to show them contact section or something like that. If somebody hit like this gibberish, or I don't know, if they don't know about some sort of a specific URL and they hit like Hossein Web Dev or for some reason, so we just want to show them this 404 page not found, or you can even remove this 404 or just show them like page not found if you want to. I'm gonna save my file, close it, and rerun my server one more time. Our server is up, and now here you can see it will now give us like page not found. And if I just write Hossein Web Dev, hit enter, it will still give us like 404 page not found and that sad face or roundy face. And now if you just write like contact page, it will give us contact page. If you just write about, it will shows us about section. If you just go to the home, or if you just provide /, or if you didn't provide anything at all, so we are going to be just getting into the home right here. And you can even specify the URLs anchor tags or something like that, which will redirect them to something like, let me just write res.n, and you can also create like I don't know, ahref, and it will be now equals to / like contact page or something like that. And let's just close that, or you know, I'm gonna have to close it manually. Contact page, zoom out, and let's just close our anchor tag right here. Okay, so here this means like it will just generate that button for us, that anchor tag. It will brings us to this contact page right here. Okay, so I'm gonna save my file, close my server, rerun my server one more time, and I'm gonna have to refresh my browser, and we are not getting that button ahref right after the end of the new line or something like that. You know, I'm gonna comment this line out, and let me just run that one more time. Server is up, refresh him, and here you can see we are now getting this contact page. If we click on him, it will now brings us to this contact page right here. So you can specify these kind of routing if you wanted to, or you know what, let me just uncomment this line out. Why are we getting that same error? Let me just close that, save my file, close that, and run it one more time. And now let me just refresh it. We are getting the home, but we are not getting that. Hey, I'm gonna investigate that. You don't have to worry about these stuff, you know. You can write okay, that's because we are ending our request, that's why. Oh my god. I'm kind of a dumbo, so I'm gonna just I'm gonna copy that, and I'm going to just create some sort of a section. Let me just create a section right here, section, and inside this section what I'm going to do, you know, I'm gonna provide these backticks right here, backticks in here as well. And here I'm going to just write h1 of home, and let's just close that. And here I'm going to also provide this anchor tag right here. So we are now providing this section tag right here, if I can get it like so. And inside this section tag we have this h1 of home, and we have this href. So let me just run my server one more time. Server is up, let's just refresh it, and we are getting a pure text. Oh, that's because of this backticks. Come on, Hossein, come on. We can provide / and n or something like that. I'm gonna have to close that and set that to single quote, like so. And you know what, we have to deal with a lot of stuff. That's why I don't like using a vanilla Node.js for these kind of stuff. So we are going to be using what do we call it? I'm going to remove the stuff from here. We are going to be using Express.js for this kind of stuff. You can provide that, I can show you that, but it will take a lot of your time and this stuff is like unnecessary. So I'm going to uncomment this line out. And let's just stop it. And let's just play it one more time and refresh it. Contact page, boom, everything is working the way we expect him to work. Alright, so that's a basic routing in Express.js, like in Node.js. And I just forgot to mention one more thing. I'm gonna open this file and stop this server, run this server one more time, and I'm gonna refresh my browser right here, right click on it, and open our inspector, go to the network panel, refresh it. I'm gonna click on this local host right here, and here you can see if I just come to this link, it will give us that 200 right here. That's working. That's why we are getting that. If you go to the contact page, it will give us that 200 right here. So that 200 is still working. But if you just like, let's suppose if you go to about section, it will still work. But if you just write like, I don't know, Hussein web dev, and if you hit enter, so the thing is that we are also providing a 200 and OK for this 404 not found page as well. So we have to provide a different kind of headers for this stuff. Like let's suppose we have to create that header for all of them. So I'm going to just write like res.write write and head. This is just a short way for creating that status code and status message and all of that. Okay, so I'm going to just type like content /type and it will be now set to text /html. Okay, so I'm going to copy that, I'm going to place it right here, I'm going to copy that, I'm going to place it right here, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to place it right here. But in this case, I'm going to just provide like 404 and page not found, and I'm going to just set that to bad. So if you save our file, and now we have to stop our server and we have to run our server one more time, and now I'm going to just refresh my browser, and here you can see it will now give us like 404 and status is bad. So that was just a little bit of thing which I want to mention before we getting into the next chapter. Alright, so now let's talk about serving a file. So let's just create a folder, give a name of like serving pages. Okay, pages index.js file right here, and inside this folder I'm going to create a new folder, give a name of like public, because we are going to be putting all of our assets inside there. I'm going to create two files like I don't know, home.html. I'm going to create one more, I'm going to give a name of like about.html. And now inside this home.html file, what I would do is that I'm going to just write like home right here, h1 of like home page or something like that. Okay, and I'm going to also provide like lorem ipsum, some dummy text right here. And now I'm going to also provide this logo or icon right here. So this is a home page. I'm going to copy that, I'm going to place it right here, and this is about page. Or you know, I'm going to select this home, hit Ctrl D and change that to about page right here. I am going to just write about about, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to just click on this emoji, and this one will be some sort of a button or something like that, like button of hello or click me or something like that. Now I'm going to save my file. Now we registered these two files right here, like home.html file and public like about.html file as well. So now how can we serve this file into these Node.js? Okay, so first of all, we are going to get our thing. Oh, I have to stop this server right here. And now let me just get my import of http from http, and we will also need one more file, one more import to be precise, which is fs for file system, which you just saw a second ago. And now let's talk about creating a server. You already know like how to create a server in Node.js. http.creating a server, and it will take two parameters like creating a request and providing response into it. And now let's just listen, not sanitize or something, let's server.listen, and let's just listen on port 8000, and let's just provide our callback function right here, like callback function of server, come on, server up, baby. So yep, that's all the thing which you already know. So now let's just talk about these basic routing. So I'm gonna just provide a basic routing right here. So if request.url is equals to this home page, what do you want to do? I'm gonna provide else if of request.url is equals to about section. What do you want to do with that? Otherwise, what do you want to do? So now let's talk about, first of all, this request.url. If we hit that, so what do you want to provide? We have to provide response.write head. So write head first of all, and we are going to be providing the 200 status, and the status will be okay. And we also have to specify the content /type, and it will be now set to text /HTML because we wanted to send HTML file. So now the next thing which we have to do is that we have to get our fs module, and we have to write like fs and then read file, which is this file right here, so the home file. So now what do you want to do? I'm going to go back one directory. I'm going to just go to the public like so, and inside this public file I have this home.html file right here. So we have this public folder, and inside this public folder we have this home.html file. I'm going to provide a comma in there, and we also have to provide our error if we have one, and also we wanted to get our data. Okay, so now inside that, what do you want to do? You want to just check our error if you got some error. So we want to just throw that error. I'm going to remove these curly braces from here. Okay, our code is already looking cluttered because this is Node.js. And now let's just send this data. Let's send this data which we are getting right here from this function. So now if you save our file, and now what I'll do is that for me, I'm going to cut this stuff from here. So let's just first of all take care of this first home page, and then we will take care of the other one. So I'm going to just run this server, and server is up. Now let's get into it. I'm going to remove all of this stuff from here, hit enter. Okay, so okay, we are getting through a new error, and through a new error, no such file or directory is found. So you know what I'll do is that I'm going to push this code from here, and I'm going to make it like public like so. And now here what I'll do is that I'm going to just provide a / and comma in there, and now let's just run it. And I guess first of all, let's just clear it out like so. And now let me just run it, refresh this browser, and here you can see we are now getting our HTML file right here. Okay, so here you can see we have our home page, and we are getting our logo, and we have a little bit of lorem ipsums right here. Okay, so this is how we can provide or this is how we can serve HTML files right here. We'll take care of that public and this stuff. I can take care of that, but I'm not going to, because it will just waste your time, and you're going to be learning about Express.js anyway. So I'm going to place this code right here. So now let's take care of this about URL. So if somebody go to their about URL, so what do you want to print them? I'm going to copy all of the entire thing, and I'm going to place it right here. So everything is totally okay, but instead here we are going to be just specifying the about.html file right here. So if you have some sort of an error, catch that error. If you don't, then just end there. Just provide that data. Okay, so now let's just stop our server and run it one more time. Server is up, and now I'm going to go to my about section right here, and here you can see we are now getting this about page, we are getting our emoji, and we are also getting this button right here. Okay, so about section is also working. And now finally, let's just provide else clause right here. I'm going to also provide these few things, or we don't have any page for the final 404 page. We can create a page, and we can like copy all the code and paste it right here, but we don't have to. What I'll do is that I'm going to just provide just a simple message or something like that. I'm going to stop my server right here, and I'm going to just write like, first of all, let me just copy that, and let me just place it right here, and this one should be 404 bad request, and also res.end, and I'm going to just provide like h3 404 page not found set face. And now let's just close our h3 right here. Okay, save my file, and now let me just go back, and this is how all of our code looks like. And I swear to God, if you start using Express.js, you will love Express.js because writing all of this code will hurt your finger. And we are just talking about 2 pages, like the home page and just a about page, and we have to do all of this configuration, and we are not done with like GraphQL and all of that stuff. So yeah, Node.js is good, but not for this kind of stuff. So so you have to learn about Express.js if you want to become a backend developer, if you want to use Node.js as a backend language for your website and stuff. So then we just have to click on this button, so the server is up and running. And now let's just go to some sort of blah page, and it will now give us 404 page not found. Let's just go to our inspector and also to this not source, come on, the network panel. Let me just refresh that, and blah 404 bad requests. So everything is working the way we expect them to work. And by the way, you can also learn more about these HTTP status code and all of that stuff, but trust me, I show you more than that, like more than enough. You already know how to serve a pages, how to do routing in HTTP module, and what an HTTP module is, and how to create your own server and all of that. That's more than enough. Like, you won't even use Node.js for these kind of stuff, but I just show you anyways, because later if you go to some sort of an interview and your interviewer asks you these questions like provide a routing or how we can serve HTML pages or images or CSS files by using just Node.js, not Express.js, so you would be able to answer them. Anyway, so that's a great tool to learn. So the next thing which you have to talk about is something called NPM, Node Package Manager. So I just removed the other crap from here, and I want you to just go to this link, which is npmjs.com, not .org. In Node.js, that was .org or .dev, but in this case we are working with npm.com, so we have to just write npmjs.com. There we go. So what in the world is this thing which we are currently learning about? So NPM or Node Package Manager is the world's biggest code store out there. So once we install Node.js in our machine, so we get npm for free. So like if you just write npm-v, and it will give us that npm version right here, and we've been using it for a real long time in this course. But as I said, like, you don't have to worry about that for now. I'll show you later. So now it's later. So why in the world we are using this npm? So npm allows us to do 3 things. So it allows us to reuse our own code in other projects. It also allows us to write our own code. It also allows us to use code written by other developers. Some other developer previously faced some sort of a challenge or a problem, and they decide to make a package on that, and they just push it to npmjs.com. Okay, so we can use that same code, and we can also share our own solution. Like, let's suppose if we face some sort of a problem and we want to create a package on that, and we can push it to npm, and a lot of people will use it. So yeah, this is what npm is, and this is the official page of npm. You can donate money to them if you want to. And in npm side, you can find lots of great code bases, but also the worst one as well. And you can also find like smaller packages, and you can also find a huge frameworks and libraries like Bootstrap, or I don't know, frameworks or libraries like React.js, Vue.js, Express.js. All of that kind of stuff is available inside this npm right here. So let's suppose if I just search for like I don't know which what can I search for. I'm gonna just search for something called a nodemon, or I'm gonna just search for Express.js right here. Okay, so here you can see it will now give us that Express exact match. We have Express validator, which allows us to validate our code or user and all of that kind of stuff. It has something called middlewares, which you don't have to worry about that for now. And it will also give us the course, which is used with this Express.js. So I'm going to just click on this first link right here, and it will now brings us to this Express.js right here. It will even gives us the basic setup, how to run your Express.js server. So in Express.js, if you want to create a server, so this is how you're going to be creating a server, and this is how you're going to be listening to it, and these are routing. And you can also shorten this code to arrow function if you want. So MIT license, the weekly download is that amount. I can't even count how much this amount is, and the version is 14 by the time I'm recording this video, and the size is that much. And you can also see the collaborators, and you can go to the GitHub repository if you want to, and you can learn more about that if you wanted to. Okay, so let's suppose if you just search for React.js, so React.js, so let me just search for that, or let me just search for React. Okay, so here you can see it will now give us like React is a JavaScript library for building the user interfaces, and I have a complete 6-hour or maybe 7-hour of course on React.js if you want to learn more about that. And React is a JavaScript library for creating a user interface. This is how you're going to be creating a functional component of a counter. And this is the homepage of React.js, reactjs.org. And this is the GitHub repository made by Facebook, Meta. Nowadays it is calling itself as a Meta, and MIT licensed the version. And check out how many people have installed. How many people have installed. This is just a weekly download of React.js. Anyways, so this is npm, and now let's just install a few things. So what I'll do is that I'm going to install something called Node.js right here, and here you can explore countless other things. Like the possibilities are like endless. You can find a lot of cool repositories and a lot of crap ones as well. So I'm going to search for that, and here you can see it will now give us Node.js. So what in the world is that package which I'm installing right here? Cool logo. So Node.js is a tool that helps develop Node.js based application by automatically restarting the Node application when the file changes in the directory are detected. Okay, so yeah, we are going to be installing that, but before we do, we can install like all of our dependencies either locally or globally. So we can install this Node.js like globally, like then we don't have to install it in each of our project. We just have to install it once, and we can reuse this npm like this Node.js again and again. But if you use this flag like --dev, we can just use it in that specific project, but we will not be able to use it in different kind of projects. So for now, we are going to be installing it by using this npm install --7, all of that kind of stuff. So now it's time to create a new file. Like so, not a file but folder. I'm going to give a name of like npm, and now I'm going to go into that folder right here. So I'm going to just use cd 11 and hit tab, hit enter. And now here, if you want to install anything, we have to first of all use npm. You know, I'm not going to be using this terminal. I'm going to use this terminal so that you guys can see everything a bit better. So what I'll do is that I'm going to double click on it, copy the file path, and I'm gonna just write cd. You don't have to do that, by the way. I'm just showing you like how to do that. And let me just make it bigger, or not that much bigger. Let me just zoom in a bit. So if you want to install some sort of a dependency inside your specific project, so for that you are going to be using npm, first of all, like npm, and then the project name. So in this case, I want to first of all go to the 11th folder, and now inside this 11th folder, what I want to do, I want to install like I don't know, I want to install Node.js. So I'm gonna just write npm, and then I can either use install, or I can just shorten there to use I. So I can either use install or I. So in my case, I'm gonna just use install, and I'm gonna just write like --save, and what was that? Save and dev. So I'm gonna copy that, right click on it and copy it, and this will allows us to, let me just write install, this will allows us to install our dependency locally just in this project. So we will be able to use their dependency of Node.js just in this specific project, but we will not be able to use it in other projects. Okay, so you will see the result just in a second. So what I will do is that I'm gonna just write Node.js, and I'm gonna hit enter, so it will just install that Node.js in my machine right here. Okay, so let's just wait for it to install, because it's not that much huge thing to install, but it will take a little bit of time to install it in my machine. So ba-boom, 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 and congratulations, we successfully installed Node.js right here. But if we open this node, like npm right here, so what are we seeing? Let me just zoom in a bit. So what are we seeing? We are first of all getting this package JSON, and here you can see we have this dev dependency, and we are just installing this Node.js, and this is the current version by the time I'm recording this course. And now if we open this package.json, so check this out. I'm going to show you what package.json will do for us, but before we do that, I'm going to open this Node modules folder right here, and there are a lot of folders right here. And these are all the folders which this package, like this Node.js, is depend on. So now let's talk about this package.json file. So why do we need this package.json file? because it records our project dependencies and configures our projects. So like, let's suppose if we create some sort of a project and we use different kind of packages, like later we are going to be installing, like if you follow this playlist, so we are going to be installing like NodeMon, we are going to be installing Mongoose, Express.js, Course.env, and all of that kind of stuff. So we cannot push all of their dependencies to our GitHub repository, and we want to just push our code, and we want to just provide this package.json file, and later if some developers wants to use this project, so they just have to use npm, they just have to use npm install or just install and hit enter. So it will install all of the packages which this project is currently using. Okay, so you will see that just in a second, but this is how we can install that. And now let me just show you how we can uninstall a package from our project. So instead of writing npm I or npm install, we can just use npm un or npm uninstall, like so. And I'm gonna just give a name of like NodeMon, the one which we just installed, and I'm gonna hit enter. Okay, so it will just remove that from our packages right here. So now we successfully uninstall NodeMon, and here you can see that we don't have any packages, nothing inside there. So what I will do is that I'm gonna select all of these files and I'm gonna delete them. Okay, so the next thing which I wanted to do, first of all, I'm gonna have to create an initial repository for myself. So I'm gonna just use npm init-y. You can provide, like, you know what, first of all, let me just show you that one by one. So if you just write npm init-y, first of all, it's gonna ask like the package name which you are currently creating. So I'm gonna just write like I don't know, Hussein package or something like that, and I'm gonna hit enter. And sorry, name can no longer contain capital. Okay, so we have to specify just Hussein, like a lowercase version will be that. Description will be the best package ever. Hit enter. Entry point will be just index.js file. Cool. Test command, we don't want to provide that, and it will be just like come on, github.com/Hussein webdev my GitHub repository. Keyword will be like awesome and JavaScript or something like that. Author will be Hussein webdev. License will be MIT, and hit enter. Yep, we want to create that. Hit enter. And now if you do that, and what are we getting? We are getting this package.json file right here, and it will just records all of our dependencies, and it will allows us to configure our project. Okay, so now we create that package.json file right here. So the next thing which you have to do is that we have to install our NodeMon one more time. So I'm going to just use npm I this time, npm install, and then NodeMon. But before I do, I'm going to write save-dev and then NodeMon. You can install it globally if you want to. Nowadays, I guess you don't have to like provide this --save and dev no more, but if you want to provide it, so that's cool. If you don't, so that's completely okay too. Anyways, that's another story, but let me just wait for it to install. So we successfully installed NodeMon right here, and what are we getting? We are getting this dev dependencies, and our NodeMon is right here, and we are using that 2.0.22 version by the time of this recording. So now we successfully create our package directory right here, and we install a NodeMon. So now let's just create a script for us. So we are going to be writing start script first of all. And if somebody use, like if some other developer come to our project and they want to use it, so they have to use npm start to start this project. So we are going to be writing like we are going to be writing node index.js file. Okay, so this is just a file. If you just write like let me just go into that 11 directory, and if you just write npm start, so it will also start our project. Currently we don't have nothing inside there, so that's why it will give us this error, but later we are going to be adding other stuff, so then it will work. Now let me just add a comma, and I'm going to just write dev right here, because we are currently in the development mode. So we are going to be writing npm run dev. Okay, so then we have to use NodeMon and then index.js. So now I'm going to show you what this NodeMon will do for us, but before we do that, I'm going to create a new file right here, and I'm going to give a name of like index.js right here. First of all, I'm going to, or I also forgot to get my what do we call it, type, and let's just set that to module and save this file right here. Okay, so now we totally create our setup. So let's just get our http. So I'm going to use import http from http module, and what I'll do is that, you know what, I'm going to just copy that. Why would I write all of that stuff? So I'm going to copy that, and there's a lot of gibberish. So you know what, I'm gonna go into this HTTP module, copy all of that, paste it right here, and remove all of these comments from here as well. Okay, so we just have our server. Let me just go back. So currently we are just importing our HTTP and we are creating a server, and if we hit that 800 like home page, so you are going to be just getting like hello from Node.js server right here. But now let me just use my Node package manager, I mean like that Node mod dependency which we just installed. So what I will do is that I already create that script for myself, which is that dev script right here, like node index.js right here. Okay, so now let me just use node not node but npm run dev, and if you hit enter, so it will just wait for our changes. Okay, so npm run dev. Oh yeah, that's because we are currently inside a workspace. We gotta go into the 11 directory, so cd 11, and then we have to use npm run dev, and if we hit enter, so it will just wait for our changes. And anytime we made changes, we don't have to click on this button to stop our server and restart our server. We just have to write our code and test our code. Like let's suppose let me just go in here, and I'm going to just write like localhost, hit enter, and it is now giving us this hello from Node.js server right here. Okay, so if I made some sort of a changes, like I don't know, I'm going to just change that to like, instead of hello from Node.js to like what's good bug. So now I'm going to save there, and now let me just refresh it, and here you can see we don't have to no longer click on this button to stop our server and to restart our server. So that's completely awesome. So now we successfully install what do we call it, that a node right here inside our project. And we also learn about what a npm is and how to install packages, how to uninstall packages. And we also learn about how we can create our own scripts right here if you want to create some sort of other script. So you're going to be just providing a comma, and then you're going to be providing the script name and what their script should do. Okay, so this is how you're going to be creating the script for your project. So in my case, if I just write like start, so it will just start our project, but for that we have to start and stop our server. But now currently we create the script for us like node index.js, so anytime we save our file, so it will just refresh our server. So like let's suppose if I change these bugs, and let's just remove that, and just watch what happened. Like when I save my file, I'm gonna hold control and hit S, and here you can see it will just restart my server right here. So if I just come to my link right here, and here you can, I mean not link but my tab right here, I'm gonna click on it, and here you can see it will just remove that bugs. So I no longer have to click on this button again and again to stop or restart my server again and again. Okay, so that was it about Node package manager. And there is one more thing I wanted to mention, which is called a get ignore file. You don't have to worry about that if you don't know what GitHub is and Git stuff is. So if you want to learn more about Git and GitHub, so I have a complete course on that as well, which you can check it out totally for free. And now let me just create this file, which is .git ignore. Okay, so this git ignore file will allows us to ignore the files once we are pushing this code to our GitHub repository. So like let's suppose what should I do? I'm gonna go into my GitHub repository real quickly, and I'm gonna create a repository right here. So I'm gonna just click on it and new repository. And you know what, should I have to do that? I'm gonna create a private repository, and I'm gonna give a name of like I sell apples. Okay, so this is going to be my repository name. I don't have to provide any description. You can skip ahead if you don't know what a Git and GitHub is, so feel free to skip this section of the video. So if you do know that, then that's completely okay. So I'm going to just create this repository right here. And now what I am going to do is that I'm going to just copy that code from here, and now let me just create a new file right here. I'm going to give a name of like bugs or something, and I'm going to open my terminal right here and right click on it and paste everything right here. So it will just first of all create our GitHub repository and initialize to that project. I know I'm going to something else, but this stuff is important, so I'm going to go into this file, refresh it, and it will now give us this readme.md file in I sell apples. And now what I'll do is that I'm going to close that from here. And now I'm already inside this package. I'm already inside my folder, which is this bugs folder right here. So what I will do is that I'm going to create a touch.index.js file right here. Okay, we are now inside. Come on. So I'm going to use npm init-y to create that package for us. And what I'll do is that I'm going to install that nodemon one more time, like npm install --save-dev nodemon. I'm going to hit enter, so it will just install this nodemon inside this bugs repository right here. Okay, so we successfully installed that. So I'm going to open my Visual Studio Code right here. Let me just open that, and here you can see we have these packages and these files right here. I'm going to write index.js file and console.log. Console.log I sell apples. And now I'm gonna just write .get ignore. Okay, hit enter. And now what I'll do is that, let's suppose I don't want to push this node modules folder to my GitHub repository. Like, this is a huge folder, like there are a lot of files and folders, like countless files and folders. So if I just want to ignore this file, like this folder, so for that I'm going to have to first of all write a /, and then I have to just write like node and /, not /, but underscore, there we go, underscore and modules. Okay, so now if you save our file, and here you can see that grayed out right here. And now if I just use like get status, and it will now gives us all of the file except this node modules right here, because we ignored that. Okay, so now I'm gonna just write like get add, and now I'm gonna just use get commit dash bugs or something like that. And now let me just push that to my GitHub repository. Okay, so it will now push all of that code into my GitHub repository. And now let me just refresh there, and here what you will see is that you will get all of the files which we have right here except that node modules right here. So now the next thing which I want to show you is that I'm going to exit out, and let's suppose we lose this repository, like or maybe we are working with someone else's computer, like we totally remove this repository. First of all, we have to close that from here as well. Let's just remove that from here, remove this repository from here right here. So I just lost this repository in some case. So now let's suppose if you are working on someone else's computer, or I don't know, we just lost this repository and we want to get it again, we push our code into our GitHub repository. So I'm going to just click on it, I'm going to copy it, and now what I'll do is that I'm going to open my terminal right here, a GitHub crash course. What the hell? These stuff are important, like later you will push your code into your GitHub repository in advanced projects and all of that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm taking a time to show you all of that. Trust me, these stuff are important. So I'm going to use get clone, and then I'm going to get clone and quotes, right click on it, and then hit enter right here. Okay, so it will just clone our repository right here, I sell apples. And now if we open this repository right here, so currently we have this package.json file, package.log.json file, but if you try to use that nodemon right here, it will not work because we didn't install that nodemon. But if you want to install it, first of all we have to go to I sell apples, and now we just have to use npm I or npm install. So I'm going to just use npm I and hit enter, and what you will see is that it will give us that node modules folder right here once again. And now you can successfully work with nodemon or any kind of directory or packages you have installed. It doesn't matter if you install mongoose or I don't know, cores or .env or anything like that. So if you just use like npm I, it will take that time to install that packages which you have stored inside this package.json file right here, and then you are going to be good to go. So I'm sorry if you think like that wasn't helpful. I really sorry about that, but believe me, like you will use all of that stuff which I just show you. Okay, like all of that GitHub stuff, that stuff is important. So I'm gonna just go in here and remove that repository, delete this repository. I want to delete this repository, I sell apples. Yep, I have read that, and come on, okay, I have to type it manually. Zen web dev / I sell apples. Okay, so now if you click on it, so it will now just remove that repository. Oh, come on. So now we successfully removed that repository from there. Anyways, so that's how you can work with NPM, and that was NPM crash course. That wasn't a crash course, that's a full course on NPM. So I hope you enjoyed it. So let's start this conversation by learning about Node.js dependencies. There are a lot of Node.js dependencies which I am going to also show you in a second. So now let's talk about these two main Node.js dependencies. So the first one we have is a v8 engine, and the second one we have is a libuv. And yeah, you heard that right, a libuv. So what in the world is a v8 engine? So v8 engine converts our JavaScript code into machine code so that our machine can understand, and you guessed it, it is written in C++ programming language. And on the other hand, we have a libuv, and libuv is just an open source library with a strong focus on asynchronous input output, and it is already written in C++ programming language. So now let me just go into a little bit more detail into this libuv, and then you will get to know what it is and why it is. So libuv is a multi-platform support library with a focus on asynchronous input output, and it was developed specially for Node.js, and it is written in C++ programming language, and it offers features like file system events, something which we will learn very shortly, asynchronous DNS, something which you don't have to worry about, but if you do, you can check out the documentation which I already show you. And asynchronous file system operation, something which we already did, full feature event loops, which we'll see in a second. Okay, so that was a libuv. So here is also a list of other dependencies by which our Node.js depends on. Okay, so we already saw libuv and v8 engine, so now let's talk about these. So the first one we have is a LLHTTP, which is designed to not make any asynchronous call or allocation. Then we have a C areas, and notice this is a C or C programming language area for some asynchronous DNS resolution request, which you don't have to worry about. If you do, you can check out the documentation about that. Then we have OpenSSL, which is used for implementation of any cryptographic functions and all of that kind of stuff. And finally, we have a zlib for a fast compression and decompression. So now let's talk about a new topic, which is called a thread. So what in the world is a thread? And I'm assuming that you've already heard this word somewhere before, but you don't know the meaning of it. So a thread is just each unit capable for executing code is called a thread. Who said that? Big bro Google. Okay, so this is a thread. So now what is the purpose of this thread? We already learned about the description of this thread, but what is the point of this thread? So anytime we create different kind of files, like we create a file for multiply, we create a file for write to a file or read from a file, or we have some sort of a greeting function, we have different kind of file and they do exactly different things. And this is our program process, and it will just create a thread for this file, for this file, for this file, and for all of the files. But as you know that Node.js is a single threaded, which means that it can only do one thing at a time. Why? Because it uses something called JavaScript programming language, and you already know that JavaScript is a single threaded programming language, which means like JavaScript can run one code at a time. I mean, like JavaScript can do only one thing at a time. So what's going on? Like, why do I show you these threads and then I show you like Node.js is a single threaded, which means like it can only do one thing at a time. So the solution is something called, you guessed it, event loops. So what are event loops? So the event loop will be generated in the thread, and the role of this loop is to schedule which operation or thread should be performing at any given point. So this is the whole point of this event loop. Okay, so like event loop is generated in each thread, and the role of this event loop is to schedule the operation, like where this operation will be performing and when. Okay, so now let me just show you one more diagram to clear this out. So here you can see we have a JavaScript right here, and we have some process. So if this process is complete, then we are going to be passing our callback function, and you already know what a callback function is, but if you don't, I'm going to show you that in the next slide as well. So if our some process is completed, then we are going to be running our callback function. Okay, so what in the world is a callback function? A callback function is an asynchronous equivalent for a function, and a callback function is called at the compilation of a given task, and callback help us in preventing from the blocking of the code. Here you can see the blocking. I should have colorized this blocking. Anyway, so Node makes heavy use of callback functions, as we saw, and we are going to be also seeing in the future, like how much callbacks we need to use once we are writing a Node.js code. Okay, so now let me just show you how all of that will work. So here you can see we have this simple code right here which do not use a callback function right here. So here you can see we are just getting our FS module right here, and then we just log to the console start, and then we are just reading some sort of a data, and we are storing it inside this variable. We have this test.txt file. Inside that test.txt file we have some sort of a data which will just show us like content from the test.txt file. Okay, and then we are just converting that data to like to string. We can also provide that UTF-8 if you wanted to, but anyways, there's other story. Finally, what we are doing is that we are just writing ended. So start, read some data, and then ended, and this code is without a callback. And so the result will look like this. So first of all, it will start is right here, then it will wait for it, like it will not show us that ended. It will wait for this process to end, like it will wait for this file to read, and after that it will show us this ended right here. So like this is the result. First of all, we would have start, and then it will read the data from that file, and then finally it will show us that ended right here. And by the way, I'm going to also show you that code in action just in a second. So now let's refactor this code to use a callback function. So here you can see, and by the way, this code is a blocking code, like it is blocking our code right here. Like it will not give us this ended. It will first of all read this data, and then finally it will give us this ended. Like it will block our code. Why? Because we are not using a callbacks. But on the other hand, if we are using a callbacks, like with callbacks, so this is how our code will looks like. So here you can see we are importing our FS module, and then we just write like program start, and here we are reading that data. But here you can also see that we are providing this callback function right here, and here we are using like a ternary operator. You can also provide if and else statement if you want to. So if you got some error, print that error. Otherwise, just print like the data which this test.txt file have. And then finally we are just logging like program ended right here. So in this case, we just use the callback function right here. So our program will not be blocked. It will first of all run this code. This process will take a little bit of time, so it will just push there to something called event loop, which I'm going to show you just in a second. So first of all, it will print us like program start, then it will print us program ended, and this process will take a little bit of time. So when it's done, it will give us that result at the end right here. So here you can see we have program start, program ended, and content from that test.txt file. Okay, so this is asynchronous and this is totally synchronous, and we already saw the example of that. But on that time I told you like I'm going to explain all of that stuff later on in this course, and that was the time I explained all of that. And I'm going to also give you the example of callbacks and non-callbacks function as well just in a second. So now it's time to put all of that in action. So here you can see we have a node process right here, and we have a single thread, and inside this single thread, what are we doing? We are first of all initializing our program, then we are importing module. This is going to be the second step, and then we are registering our callbacks. This is going to be the third step, and then start the event loop. But this event loop will only start if our code contains some sort of a logic which will take a time. Like let's suppose we are reading some sort of a data, or we are just waiting for some I don't know, like we are waiting for some user to enter their data or something like that, like those code which will take time. So it will start the event loop, and inside this event loop we have a thread pool, and inside this thread pool we have 4 threads right here. So it will just push our heavy data, like those data which is taking a time, it will push it to these threads right here. So threads inside a thread pool, and this thread pool is coming from this event loop, and this event loop is available inside a single thread. Let me say that one more time because I know it will confuse a lot of people. So first of all, we have some sort of a node processor right here, and then we have just a single thread. Like this entire area is a single thread, and inside this single thread, first of all, we are initializing our program, then we are importing modules, then we are registering our callbacks, and then we are starting the event loop. But this event loop will only start if we have some sort of a heavy lifting data, like those data which will take a little bit of time, like I don't know, creating a directory, or reading a file data, or replacing some sort of a data, or a pending data, the things which we already cover in this course. And then it will start this event loop, and once it started, so it will give us something called a thread pool, and inside this thread pool it will give us 4 threads right here. So it will push that heavy lifting data into these thread pools, and it will give us this kind of result right here. So first of all, it will run our program, so it will give us the result of those things which is not taking our time, and then finally it will give us the result of those things which is taking our time. So this is what's going on behind the scenes. So I hope you totally understand it. So now let me just give you an example, and then you will get to know what I'm talking about. So what I will do is that I'm going to create a folder given name of like 12 and BTS. I had saying this word, but anyways, let me just create a file index.js. Right here. So I'm going to save this file, save about to this one. I'm going to just write a blocking code. Okay, so block, do we have a logo or some sort of icon for blocking? Anyways, we don't have any icon for blocking, so I'm going to first of all write a blocking code. So I'll just write start, console log start, and then what I'll do is that you know what, I'm going to just write alert, and I'm going to just write blocking, or block would be fine, and then I'm going to just write console.log of end right here. Okay, so we have these 3 lines of code right here, and the first one will give us start, the second one will give us this alert which will block our code, and the third one will give us this end right here. Okay, so I'm going to just run this code, and we cannot run this alert because we are working on a Node.js. So I'm going to have to create a new file, index.js, not JS but HTML would be fine. I'm going to use doc type HTML right here. Oh, you know what, instead of doing all of that, I'm going to close that. I'm going to copy this code. You know, I'm going to delete this file right here. I'm going to copy this code, this blocking code, and I'm going to run it right here. So I'm going to open my console right here, go to my console really quickly, and I'm going to pass this code right here. So we have this blocking code. So we just provide a console.log of start, it will block our code, and then we have this console.log of end. So if I hit enter, so what are we getting? First of all, we are getting this start right here. We are getting this start, but it will not show us this end right here because this alert will block our execution. So here you can see we are getting this block, and if I hit OK, and then it will give us this end. So we are getting start and block our code, and then if we hit OK, then it will give us this end right here. So this is what we call blocking code. So now let me just write a non-blocking code. So what I'll do is that I'm going to just write a non-blocking. I'm going to delete this coding, and I'm going to just write non-blocking code right here. So what I'll do is that I'm going to just write start right here, and then I'm going to use something called a set timeout, which you're already aware of that if you are coming from JavaScript background. And then here what I'll do is that I am going to just provide like 1 second of duration, and then alert, and here I'm going to just pass like non-blocking. Why? It will not block our code because here we are passing a callback function right here. Okay, so finally I'm going to just write console.log of end. So now let me just save that, and I'm going to copy this entire code. I'm going to refresh that, and it will take a little bit of time. Come on. And I'm going to just place this coding right here. So non-blocking code, and first of all what we have is that we have a start, then we have a non-blocking code which will take 1 second because we are providing this callback function right here, and then we have an end. So what do you think will happen? So I'm going to hit enter, so it will give us a start, then end, and then it will take 1 second, and then it will give us non-blocking code right here. So I know this was a horrible example, so I'm going to close that, and now let me just show you a real world example of that. So I'm going to remove this coding, and by the way, that involves some sort of working with a console, and I know some people will say like, that's not the code you're going to be writing. But anyways, now let me just give you one more, a real world Node.js example. Node.js, that's not a word, by the way, I just made this up. Without callback. Okay, so without a callback, first of all I'm going to use the fs, or you know what, I'm going to use import fs from fs right here. Okay, so I'm going to just write console.log, and here I'll just provide start, Okay, start, and then I'm going to use let data will be equals to fs dot read, come on, read file, and here I'm going to just provide test dot txt, and I'm going to just create this test.txt file right here, test.txt file, and hello world. Okay, save my file, and then I'm going to log that to the console like data.toString right here, and I'm going to also finally write my end. Okay, so our program will start, it will take a little bit of time, and then it will end. So now if I execute this program, so I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to execute this file, but it is giving us this error, read file sync rather than come on, sync, because this is a synchronous version. So I'm going to save my file, and it is still giving us that error, read file sync test dot, I guess the directory is not found, or what is going on, no such a file or directory. You know what, I'm going to put this test.txt, I'm going to grab that and put it right here, and now let me just run my code. Why it's freaking out? I'm going to run it, and it is now giving us start, then it is giving us hello world, and then finally it is giving us this end. So which means that it is blocking our code right here. Let's suppose if you have like 1,000 line of code right here, or 1,000 line of some text right here, which will take a little bit of time, so it will block our code. So first of all, it will run this start, then it will block our code at this point, it will read all of the content, and then finally it will give us this end right here, which means that it is blocking our code. So this was the example of blocking the code, and we use this sync right here. But now what I'll do is that I'm going to just change that to read file, and I'm going to pass my what do we call it, callback function, so error, and then we want to get our response from this function. So I'm going to use a ternary operator right here. If you got some error, then log that error, and if you didn't got any error whatsoever, so then I want you to print that res.toString right here. Okay, and I'm going to remove this console log from here. I'm going to save my file, and what I will do is that I'm going to also remove this data from here as well. So now here we are specifying this callback function right here, so it will not block our code. So what I will do is that I'm going to run it. Okay, so here you can see it will now give us start, then it will give us end, and then it will give us toString function right here. Res would be fine. I'm going to save that, and let's just console log that one more time. So it will now give us this buffer. We can also provide the UTF-8 right here, so UTF-8, and then we can specify our comma. And now let me just run that. Let me clear this out, and now let me just run that, and here you can see it will first of all gives us the start, then it will give us the end, and finally it will read this code, and it will give us this result right here. Okay, so this is something called a non-blocking code. So I hope that helps. If it didn't, you don't have to worry about it because this is just a behind the scenes stuff. You don't have to worry about any of them. So now let's talk about events in Node.js. So I'm assuming that you are already aware with the concept of events from JavaScript. So we are going to be also writing events in Node.js. So I'm going to just create a folder, give a name of like O13, not O13, but just 13 would be fine, and events. And inside this folder, I'm going to create index.js file. Okay, so I'm going to just remove that. And now if you want to get events, so first of all, we are going to be writing import, and then we are going to be writing event emitter. Okay, come on, event, and or you know what, let me just remove these curly braces from here, event emitter, and it will be now we are going to be getting that from events right here. Okay, so now we get that. Now let's create an instance of that event. So I'll just write creating instance, come on, instance of that event. So now if you want to create an instance, so we are going to be writing new and event emitter right here. So this is a constructor function. If you are coming from a JavaScript, so you probably know this stuff which I'm talking about, like constructor function and all of that. Custom emitter, I'm going to just give him name of like custom emitter, like so, and it will be now equals to this instance. Now inside this event emitter constructor, we have a few methods. So the first one is card. Let me just write, the first one is card on. So this on method allows us to listen / register for an event. Okay, and then we have this what do we call it, once, which will also listen / register for an event. But the difference between this on and once is that anytime you run your code or anytime you call this event, so this event will fire. But if you declare your event by using this once, so that event will only fire once, like not more than that. It will only fire once, and this one can fire like a lot of times, which I'm going to also show you in a second. And then we have another one which is called emit. Okay, so emit will allows us to emit or call an event. So the one event which we are going to be registering by using either on or once, so it will allows us to run or call or emit that event. Okay, so these are the descriptions. So now let me just write custom emitter which we are creating right here, and I'm going to be using like on in this case. Okay, so we can call this event like as many times as we want. So I'm going to just write response, and then here I'm going to just specify a callback function like name and ID, and here I'm going to just pass this callback function right here, and I'm going to just log to the console this data like I don't know, data, or yeah, I'm going to just write like a user, and it will be now equals to the username which we are going to be specifying, and then we are going to be providing some sort of ID to it. So like we are going to be also getting this ID. So once we are calling this event emitter, so now we registered this event by using this on method. So now we have to call this event so that we can see the result. So what I'll do is that I'm going to just write like custom emitter, and then I'm going to use emit right here. Okay, so I'm going to just give a name of like I don't know, response would be fine, or you can give a name of like event or something like that. You can give any name you want, and here we are going to be passing this value to these arguments. So I'll just write John, and I'm going to just write, or you know what, my own name will be fine, Hussein, and here I'm going to just write like I don't know, 18 would be fine, or 17. I'm going to provide 18 is fine. So now if you run our code, and what are we getting? We are getting this user from Hussein, and we are getting this ID of 18 right here. It should be like date of birth or something like that, or age would be fine. So this is how we can register our event, and this is how we can call it. But now let me just call it one more time. So I'm going to just duplicate there, and I'm going to just change that to John, and John will be like I don't know, 29 years old, and him will be equals to 10-year-old. Come on, 10-year-old. Alex will be 10-year-old. So I'm going to save this file, and I'm going to run it, and here you can see it will run it as many times as we want them to run. So like we have user Hussein, ID of 18, John 29, Alex 10. Okay, so I'm going to clear out the screen, and now instead of using this one, I'm going to change that to once right here, once, like so. I'm going to save this file, and now if I run my file, so what are we getting? We are getting this user right here, and user is Hussein and ID is 18 right here. And here you can see we are reusing it, but it will not allow us to call our event more than once because the name is once. So this is how you are going to be registering your event, and this is how you are going to be calling it right here. So you can either register it by using on, or you can register it by using once. So now you know the difference between both of them. Okay, and you can provide any kind of logic right here, like console log, or reading a file, or reading some sort of a data, or creating a directory, or anything like that. And then you can specify these arguments. You don't have to, but if you wanted to, you can specify these arguments right here. Okay, so there's events in Node.js. Alright, so the final topic of this course will be about streams in Node.js. So what are streams, and why do we care about streams? Now first of all, let me just create a folder, give a name of like 014 of streams, and inside this folder I'm going to create index.js file. And now here we are going to be talking about a stream. So what in the world is a stream, and why do we need it? So in Node.js, streams are a way to handle reading and writing a data. They provide a way to work with a large amount of data, such as reading of files, or writing of files, or maybe receiving a large amount of data over a network connection without loading the entire data set into a memory. And stream can be readable, writable, or both, and can be used with a pipe data between different sources and destination. And by default it accepts these 64 kilos of data. So you can either write it, or you can either read it, or you can either write it. Okay, so now let's create, or first of all let's just get or function from that events, not events, but fs module. So I'm going to just write create read and then stream. So this is going to be the function name from the fs module. Okay, so now the next thing which we have to do is that we have to generate a lot of data so that our buffer can read it. So what I'll do is that I'm going to just create a new file. I'm going to give a name of like, let me just go back. I'm going to give a name of like I don't know, data.js would be fine. It will allow us to like generate a lot of data. I'm going to import the fs from fs module, and now I'm going to just zoom in a bit. So I'm going to just use for let I equals to 0, I is less than some sort of a long number right here, and then finally I plus plus. So we are incrementing our I. Fs write files, not come on, write file synchronously. So we are going to be creating this file like data.txt file, and we are going to be rendering this kind of content like I, and we are going to be getting a new line. And finally we also have to provide this flag of 8 right here. So now if we save there, it will iterate over through all of these text, and it will generate these amount of numbers right here. So just wait for it. I'm gonna just zoom out a bit, and here you can see we don't have no file, nothing inside there. So now if you run this code, so it will take a little bit of time because it is generating a lot of data, and finally it's done. I'm going to go into this data file, and here you can see all of these numbers, like there are a lot of them and it will take a lot of time to read or write this data. Okay, so I'm going to just close that. Purpose of this file was to just generate their data.txt file for us. Anyways, so now we already get our function right here. So the next thing which you have to do is that we have to create our stream. So I'm going to just write like const stream, and it will be now equals to ice cream it will be now equals to read create read stream. There we go. And then here we are going to be specifying our data.txt file, the one which we just created with a lot of text right here. Okay, and then here what we have to do, I am going to just provide a watermark, like a high watermark right here. So what in the world is this high watermark property, or flag if you want to call that? So the high watermark property controls the size of the buffer, or we can increase that or we can decrease that if you want to. So in this case, like maybe I'm gonna just provide, oh, you know what, I'm not going to be providing that right now. I'm going to just remove that from here in this case. And now here I'm going to just write a stream which we've just created, and then I'm going to use my on event right here. So anytime we call it, we want to get the data, and we want to give a label of that event of data, and I'm going to pass, let me just go in, I'm going to just pass my data right here, and I'm going to log that data to the console right here. Okay, and finally we can also get an error event, but that's another story. We will just take care of that in a second. So I'm going to just go back like so, go back, and I'm going to run this file right here. So here you can see it is now giving us this buffer right here. So it is saying like add 40 or more bytes right here. So it is giving us this huge amount of buffer right here, but it is not giving us all of the entire data right here. So we can also provide that high watermark or something, which I just say. So a high watermark will be now equals to like this huge amount of number, like this would be fine. Or you know, I'm going to just provide 4 zeros right in there. I'm going to clear the terminal, and I'm going to just run this code right here. So here you can see it will now increase that. Does it increase it or not? I bet it didn't. Anyways, so I'm going to just close that. So now it's time to read the actual data from this stream right here. So I'm going to just comment this line out, and now let me just read this entire data. So I'm going to just write const stream stream, there we go, and it will be now equals to that same method which we've just imported, and here we have to specify the data.txt file, and here we just have to specify encoding and UTF-8 with no dashes and with nothing, but we just have to specify this UTF-8 right here. So in this case it gives us a buffer. In this case it will just encode our data to UTF-8, and it will give us the actual content. So I'm going to just save this file, and I am going to run it. Okay, so here you can see it will now read all of that data from that file right here. So here you can see it run and read all of that data which we specified inside this data.txt file. So I'm going to just go at the end right here, and here you can see it will now read all of that data from this file. So that's powerful. So streams are very powerful in Node.js. So yeah, you don't even need to work with the streams if you don't want it to. Like I barely work with stream, like not that much, but just a little bit. Anyways, so thank you so much for watching. If you like this course, so please check out my other courses. I have a lot of courses on front-end development and also with backend development, and this course was the part of my MERN stack course, which will be like, which I already show you. Let me just show you that one more time. So which one is Node.js? Let me just show you that. So we are currently learning this MERN stack right here. So we are done with this Node.js. The next thing which I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a course on this Express.js, which is a superpower for this Node.js. Okay, like you will love Express.js. You will love Express.js, I promise. And after that, we are going to be jumping into MongoDB for our databases, and we are going to be also learning about something called Mongoose. And I already have a course on that if you want to check that out. You can use React.js without even this tag if you want to, or if you want to learn it for just specifically this tag. So this course is like more than awesome, which is like 7 hours of content or something like that. And I've created like 10 projects, and I'm just creating more and more projects. So thank you so much for watching, and this Node.js was the part of my course. Next, if you join me, or if you want to join me, we are going to be learning about Express.js.